All right, everyone. Welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast. It's not actually that anymore, is it?
No,
we're not the
it's
Nintendo
not.
Prime Podcast. You want to go mute that?
Yep, that's exactly what I was
Yeah,
going
my
to go
other
to.
computer is busy playing the whole stream in the background. So Eric's like, oh, crap, we got to go take care of that. It's actually the Nintenbyte Podcast, episode 1. We have had a show going for a while. And that show is now done. The Nintendo Prime Podcast is no more after, the grand total was something around 450 episodes of that podcast. We are now have a new show called the Nintenbyte Podcast, which is going to be really, really different. First, you see, we have a lot of people this week. Don't count on this every week, except that, 2 of the first 3 episodes, we have this many people. So that's just how it goes. Everyone wanted to get into the May slots. I don't know why, but that is okay. I love the demand to want to be on the show. So let's go ahead and just hop right in by just introducing our guests quick. We have, let's just see. N64 Josh. How you doing, buddy?
So good. So glad to be back. Thank you so much.
We got Gamer Classic. I just noticed.
Oh my God.
He's fully committed. We have Landon, a.k.a. Nintendo Land, back. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me back again.
Heck yeah. Then we got Sun Bro Nation.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me back, Nate. Happy to be here.
And then we need to make sure that we do this introduction properly. We have a new co-host. Actually, it's the first episode, so I guess he's just the co-host. Thunder Steve 85 Gaming.
What's up? Thank you. I appreciate it. I am very excited to be co-hosting with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah. And you guys probably know, but if you don't, another co-host is Andres Restart with the sad face.
Hi. How you guys doing?
And then we have my best friend and co-host since the beginning of time, Eric Moore.
How's it going, everybody?
Beginning of my time, anyways.
Yeah, right.
So, did dinosaurs have fuzz?
Obviously. I mean, clearly, that's a yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just a fact. All right, let's go ahead and get into what we call our topic roulette, and that's where the 4 co-hosts will choose topic from a preset list. And you know what? I don't think it's fair if I went first. I just feel like that'd be kind of the D move because there's less topics that get picked. So we have a list of topics on the back end. Let's start with Eric. I'm going to let Eric get a choice here. What topic do you want to pick? The topic list is at the top. You go up. Right?
Yeah.
What topic would you do you want to take? What are we doing?
Oh boy, the only one that I really know anything about would be the debate between Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy.
Hell yeah! So that's going to be a fun one. We're going to be seeing where we all sit and have a little debate about which game is better. That's going to be a tough one. All right, Thunder Steve 85.
I will take the 1,000-year door, 30 frames per second debate.
Is it a problem? Ooh, oh boy, that's gonna be a fun one. I guess I'll go last. Andres Restart. Which one are you gonna take, bud?
Well, it feels like you cherry picked this one. I mean, all right. I'll do what you want me to do, obviously, and it's the Metroid Prime 4 topic. And now I'm alley-ooping you to do the topic that you most are known for.
Well, no, I have to choose it because it's in the title of the damn show.
You have to. What if you didn't, though? What if you didn't?
I literally do not have a choice.
First episode does not go into the title.
I don't have a choice.
Consider this for a moment, though. People get mad at content creators making clickbait Switch 2 videos. So you make a podcast with the main topic being Switch 2. And it's not even the topic of conversation.
That'd be just a troll. All they ever do is talk about Switch 2. Did you know we wasn't even in there? We just wanted to get your click. Thank you so much for the revenue. All right, I'm obviously going to choose the Switch 2 rumor topic. That does mean we did have a topic not make the cut. I'm not really surprised that topic didn't make the cut per se. If you want to know which one it is, it's about Nintendo Live Australia and stuff going on with that and some stuff that happened in Japan. Hey, we just don't want to talk about it. We got better topics. We got better things to do. So we're going to go ahead and just hop right into the first person who picked the topic. Eric, you want to start us off? Mario 64 versus Mario Galaxy. Which one's better?
Mm,
Make your argument and let's go.
I mean, for me, it's Mario 64. I just played it way more. I mean, I like Mario Galaxy a lot, but to me, Mario 64 hits the nostalgia note
That's what I was saying.
with the just like I picked it up on Switch and it was like riding a bike. I'm just like do 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 do, and it was just I loved it. So it's mainly on nostalgia, but I'm gonna go with Mario 64.
See, dude, nostalgia. The thing is, they're both at this point pretty old.
Yeah.
I hate saying that.
Yeah, that's hard to believe, but Galaxy's aged now. So as have all of we. So
Well, look, we don't have to talk about that. We don't got to talk about that.
Hey Nate, I got an idea. What if you put a community poll in the chat?
that's a good
about
idea.
Which
Oh,
game
yeah.
is better?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'll attempt to do that.
You press the plus, then there's a on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm on YouTube at the moment. I gotta get over there.
I figured I'd mess you up there.
Damn.
Yeah, of course you did. That's okay. We'll get the debate poll up. For those listening on Spotify or anywhere else, this is because the show is first done live over on YouTube. So if you want to catch it live, it's 8 p.m. Central Time every single Wednesday over on the Nintendo Prime YouTube channel. All right, let's go ahead and get to some other people. Who wants to? Is it anyone want to take the Galaxy side of this argument?
I'm not sure
I
where I
do.
stand.
I'm an easy Galaxy
There it is.
over Mario 64. I love Mario 64. Don't get me wrong. It was a fantastic game for the time. I think Banjo-Kazooie was the superior 3D platformer. I know I'm going to upset some people with
No,
that.
I'll give you that one even.
But yeah, I mean, lots of nostalgia. I think that, going back to Mario 64, it was the growing pains of 3D gaming. So, while people thought the controls were nice and clicky at the time, the game just, to me, doesn't feel that good these days. It's a little bit bland, whereas I think Galaxy really reimagined Mario and taking it, leaving the Mushroom Kingdom, doing this really cool new thing that we had never seen in a Mario game before. Orchestrated soundtrack, which was totally rad. I think the pointer controls were neat for that game, really complemented the console. And I don't know, Galaxy, going back and playing the two, I feel like Galaxy still gives me a little bit of that wonder in a way that Mario 64 is more of just like, wow, this was really great when it came out. That's how I feel about it anyways.
Now, I would argue on the counterpoint to that 64 is the foundation of everything 3D Mario, and that it wasn't just growing pains. It literally paved the way for what a 3D platformer. Granted, Banjo-Kazooie is incredible as well, but it paved the way for what a 3D platformer could be. And in the same way that we owe so much to Zelda Ocarina of Time for 3D games, I think we owe a lot of the evolution of Mario's gameplay in Galaxy to 64. And when you have these conversations, there's like two ways to look at it. It's like, what did the historical game do first? And then what did the formula ultimately evolve into because of that first game's go at it? And I do think for most of us, Eric said it best, it's going to boil down to nostalgia factor. Like if you were whatever was going on in your life, if it was way better whenever you were playing Mario 64 and those are some of your fondest memories, you're probably going to love that one more. I think they're both like excellent tier A games, but it's just, I still think that if I was going to go back and play one right now just for fun, just entirely just to have fun from start to finish, I would actually pick 64 to this day, even with the wonkiness of the camera, which I will say still is there, but that was part of the evolution of diving into 3D games and taking your platformers from 2D to 3D. But both excellent games. I'm team 64.
Very cool.
Sure. Look, I am team Galaxy all the way. Look, it's about which game is better, of course, which I know some people, I see those debates happening with the people watching being like, oh, is it about which one's better or nostalgia? Look, here's the thing. Nostalgia plays a role in what is better. That's just a fact. Nostalgia is a positive feeling association to something. And if that to you makes it a better experience, like somebody said, they're both amazing, but like for him, he'd rather go play Mario 64. So does that make it better? Well, for his personal taste, that's the game he would rather go put back in and play right now, not Galaxy. I think Galaxy is better for a few reasons. Mostly just that I think the mechanics are significantly more unique than, say, Mario 64. Because what Mario 64 essentially was a 3D Mario game that doesn't do anything other than just be a 3D Mario game. And to be fair, at the time, that's amazing. Like it was a big deal back in 1996 because so many franchises hadn't transitioned to 3D yet, and some of the ones that did it quite poorly. So it just being a 3D Mario game makes a lot of sense. But then Galaxy, by the time we got to Galaxy, which was a couple 3D Mario games later, or one more on top because we had Sunshine, Galaxy just had so much surprise and whimsicalness to it. A lot of introduction of new characters like Rosalina, that is now a fan favorite character that keeps getting demanded to be put in everything. And just the gravity free nature of it. Like when we go back to, like Mario 64, someone mentioned, that Banjo-Kazooie was a better platformer or whatever back then. Well, that's fine. And I tend to agree. I like Banjo-Kazooie more. The thing with Mario Galaxy is there's not a lot of 3D platformers at that time that I would say are better. And Mario Galaxy to me just represented a showcase that even though Nintendo's doing these crazy wonky motion controls, they can still create amazing games on top that aren't just a bunch of gimmicks. Mario Galaxy is tons of fun. So fun, in fact. We have a sequel, but it's not about the sequel today. Anyone else want to go? How about
I wanted to add something really quick, just super quick, just to respond to Mark. And I think that there are some things about 64 that I actually enjoy better than Galaxy. I like the more open, interconnected world. I think a lot of the music's a lot more memorable in 64. So there are a lot of things that I really appreciate about 64, and I wish would actually come back to future Marios. I hope whatever the successor to Mario Odyssey takes from, that kind of more open world. Sunshine did a little bit of that. You had the plaza that was really open. So I do think there are aspects of 64 that I enjoy better than Galaxy. But I just think from trying to leave nostalgia out of it, I think about how unique and how special, kind of like how you were saying, Nate, Galaxy was. And I think about that opening. When Mario Galaxy opens up and, you see the castle lifting up and there's like starbursts coming down. It's such a special and memorable opening to a Mario game, unlike anything we had seen before at the time with the symphony playing and stuff. So I don't know, that game for me, they're close. They're both, like you said, 10 out of 10 gem platformers, but I got to give it to Galaxy.
Oh man, this is tough. I'm split.
It's like asking who your favorite child is.
That's easy.
You don't have
Except harder.
By the way, every parent will tell you it's easy, but they'll never admit it.
Yeah,
They'll never say who it is. Yeah.
I'll tell you that I went back to the poll and I voted Mario Galaxy, and I was like, wait, hold on, I'm not sure. So both games are old, okay, and I kind of feel like Mario 64 plays better in 3D All-Stars than Galaxy does, just because with the whole, getting the star bits thing is kind of awkward on Switch. That's, because you had a pointer on the Wii, right? It felt more natural back then. Now it feels a little bit, it's a little awkward. It's playable, but it's not the best it could be. And so, that kind of, it takes it a little bit away from me when I just kind of consider like the most modern versions of them. But at the same time, obviously Mario Galaxy is a more advanced game. And I agree, like what you were saying, Cameron, the game feels magical. It does a really good job of feeling like this magical adventure. But I also have to say, while I love like linear Mario gameplay, I prefer, the more open style of Mario game. And I kind of prefer a happy marriage between the two, which is where I feel like Odyssey is that's kind of where the direction they're heading in. And then I sort of think about, man, with Mario 64, it was like that initial one, so the camera's not that good. But then I think about Mario Galaxy, you don't even have that much of a camera, so it's kind of like, is that even really like a good like place to sort of measure them?
You almost don't need one.
I mean, that's the way the game's designed.
No, yeah, the way it is.
Yeah, but I like exploring worlds. Like exploration is really good for me, and Galaxy kind of lacks in the exploration part. I mean, there are cool places you explore technically, but it's, you don't have much direction in which you choose to go. You just kind of go, right? I think I'm going to pick Galaxy. I think Mario 64 is very obviously the more important game to history. As Sunbro Nation was talking about, like it was like that first big 3D adventure game, right? And it changed a lot. But Galaxy is the more polished game. It's the more complete game. It's got a lot of post-game content, and it's just magical. It's a really good one. So I'll give Galaxy the edge, and I'm going to shut up now.
So Landon, you're like Mr. Mario on this show. Like literally your channel is like 20,000 billion Mario videos. Or what are we doing? This has got to be tough for you.
Yeah, you're gonna put me on the spot here, man. Oh goodness. Well, I'll tell you right now, you didn't
choose your words carefully, dude.
Might lose half your fan base.
They're watching me right now. I'm being watched.
You just see the viewer count skyrocket.
Well, since I can't pick the best one, Sunshine, I guess I got to go.
Hey,
there we go.
I guess I gotta,
we hold that in common, Landon. I didn't know that was your favorite game, but that excites me to hear, as you being a hardcore Mario fan and your channel being a lot built around it. That's awesome. That's Sunshine. I will say real quick is the platforming in that game, the challenge, everything that it has to offer from start to finish, and the different worlds you go through, and then that final boss fight section. I mean, just come on, it's true masterpiece.
I'm with you guys.
I'm with you,
Sunshine.
bro.
There we go. Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah.
We got some Sunshine fans in the house. See, where were we at whenever that game was being crucified online in front of all of us? Well, I guess we weren't online yet, probably for a lot of us.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, and for that reason, obviously loving Sunshine, I love this. To me, Mario games, 3D Mario games, is about being able to explore and use Mario's moveset to the fullest. It's able to like do his flips. He feels silky smooth in 64, even though the controls are a little but he can still do things that he can't do in any, Mario Galaxy 1 or 2. I just like having that ability to, I can go over here and explore. I'm not going to be stopped because the game's linear. I can go check all these things out and just really experience Mario the way Mario feels like he's supposed to be able to move. And I just feel like Mario's chunky or something in Galaxy. I can't ever put it like it has the worlds, it has the characters, but Mario's feel just always felt just like it was held back. Like he couldn't do some of the stuff. He wasn't as athletic or acrobatic. And to me, that's just like having that, giant diverse moveset as you see it in Sunshine, where he can dive and, Odyssey. It just, to me, that just is how Mario should always move. And I've always kind of related with 64 because of that.
Do you feel like the spin attack is kind of like a crutch in Galaxy?
I
oh man, I'm not gonna make the jump. Spin.
It's a weird addition. I don't know how I feel about the spin. It just doesn't.
I like it. I like it because I feel like it gives us more options, but it does also feel like a crutch sometimes.
Yeah.
Odyssey has kind of something similar with the cap, but it has a lot more application though, so you can do a lot more things with it. So it feels less like a crutch and more just like different things you can do.
Right.
I would say the spin was more of a crutch for enemies because you could just spin into most of the enemies in Galaxy. The
only way you could hurt him besides bonking.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have a punch attack or a kick. And 64 Mario 64, you could punch and kick. Like not every Mario game you could punch and kick. This guy could. You could argue
there's a lot more jumping options too.
That's true. Yeah, 64 was probably the most violent Mario today.
Everything was a little bit more violent back in the 90s.
Everything. You shoot
with water. It's a water gun. You're just a menace.
Deadly water. High pressurized water. It's basically a bullet.
That's true. That is a fair point.
Just waterboarding all the enemies.
Oh, whoa now. Whoa.
Wait,
that's why you keep bonking them on the head to keep them under.
Yes. Right.
Oh, man.
Yo, your cast is going to get banned.
Episode 1, we're banned on every platform.
Yeah.
No, look, I mean, I don't think it was a wrong answer. That's the fun thing about a debate like this.
Hold on.
They're both awesome.
N64 Josh, you want to chime in here?
No.
I got to chime in too because I got a strong opinion on this.
This is great.
Yeah.
Well,
Josh, you can go ahead.
I'm gonna have to change my name to Wee Josh, I think, after this because I beat Galaxy before I beat 64.
Oh, there we go.
I when I bought my Nintendo 64, I bought Mario Kart and I bought GoldenEye, and then eventually I got Ocarina. but I watched. So what happened is I walked into a buddy's house and he was playing 64, and I watched him throw Bowser off, and I was like, that's the boss fight. And I just walked in and saw this. I'm so bummed out right now. And so like I didn't go back and play it until many years later. I liked it. It was fine. The thing that Galaxy really did almost perfect, in my opinion, was power-ups. Mario has always been about power-ups. Like if you grew up when I did, Mario 3.
I'm glad you made that point. Yeah, that's a good one.
Mario 3 and the raccoon tail, right? Like the Nuki suit, the Hammer Brother, the frog, all that stuff was like, that's what started to define Mario for me, right? Then the cape in World, and there was a few less power-ups, and it was like, I wish there was more. Galaxy brought a lot of that back. 64 had the cap, right? So at least you could fly, but there wasn't a whole lot of what always made Mario the most special to me. So Galaxy did it great, but they always had a timer, and I was like, no, what, like, why? Or that, you couldn't take it to the next level with you. It would only last so long. But they were also really creative. Like they kind of bleed together 1 and 2. So if I don't get some of the power-ups correct, don't shoot me. But the Bumblebee, the Cloud, the Spring, the Ghost, all that kind of stuff, like it just felt very Mario, right? And it has not, like 64 is they're both incredible games. Even going back and playing 64 probably, I mean, I probably beat it 4 years ago for the first time is when I beat it. Like it's been like that recent. It still held up, like it still held up. And then getting the 64 controllers for the Switch and jumping back in on a lot of those games, including Mario 64, it felt right at home. I know it's not on the list, but I also lean towards Galaxy 2 being better than 1. So, and we literally were
high
just,
five.
yeah, okay, all right. You know why? Because of Yoshi, like World and Yoshi,
And
so
you want to know what had Yoshi first?
Here we go.
Sunshine.
That's true.
Yeah. But the power-ups for me is really what kind of like pushed it over the edge. And to touch on the nostalgia just a little bit, I beat both the Galaxy games while I was staying at a cabin in the woods on like vacation.
Nice.
And so like, after days of swimming and all that kind of stuff, like I just like would chill out and play through the Galaxy games. And they were incredible. I will say this about Galaxy 1. It also pulled me away from the Xbox 360 and achievement hunting. Right. And there were very few Wii games that did that. But Galaxy was one that I was like, I can't put this down.
Hell yeah. All right, Mr. Thunderstash.
All right, so I gotta go with Mario 64. And the nostalgia for me is just absolutely through the roof. It's a special story. I'm gonna summarize it quickly, okay? It's June 1996. As we all know, 64 came out in September in the US. There's a video game store that I grew up going to called Gamers. And my dad and I went there on a Friday, and I thought I was going to be renting a Super Nintendo game. And the guy who works there, his name's Jimbo. He literally was like, guys, we just got a new system in. He's like, but we're not going to put it out to rent. Do you guys remember renting video game systems?
Oh, yeah.
Anyone do it? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
I rented a 64.
Yeah, I rented plenty of them. And he's like, we're not going to advertise it and put it out till Monday. Now, keep in mind, we knew Jimbo for years, like a long time back then when you're a kid. We probably knew him 6-7 years. And that's a long time to work at a video game store, a rental store, right? But he asked if I wanted to take it home for the weekend for free.
Oh.
This is the Japanese 64.
Mm.
So you guys know the internet wasn't what it is. I mean, it's 96. Internet basically came out, 95, 96 with AOL. And so nobody really had the internet anyways. The only way you're going to know about 64 is if Nintendo Power talks about it, right? So again, long story short, I took it home. I got to play Mario 64. Everything's in Japanese. And experiencing that for the first time, holding that 64 controller and not even knowing what to do because I can't read actually what's in the game. And, this is 96. So I was 11 or 12 years old back then. And jumping through those paintings for the first time and figuring out that's how the game starts. Like that's how you actually play it. And then you got to find the stars. It was just absolutely wild. I've never experienced anything like that. And to me, Mario 64 laid the foundation for what a 3D platformer can and should be. And I know we talk about the camera today. Yes, by today's standards, it's very elementary, but again, you got to remember this was the first game to be the 3D platformer. Like this was Miyamoto's first outing doing this. And that's what we got was Mario 64. On top of that, the soundtrack, absolutely love it. I still listen to it. I put the soundtrack on a lot of my reviews on my YouTube channel in the background. Put them low enough, but I put those songs in the background because I love them. Now, Galaxy, I got to say, I love that soundtrack too. I think they're both equally excellent. When it comes to environments, I'd probably go with Mario 64. I think it does have more varied environments, more different locations to play through. So it's tough. I love Galaxy. I love Galaxy 2. I do think Galaxy 2 is better. But I think the nostalgia for me just pushes
This video
over
is
the edge.
probably. Sorry about that.
Absolutely love Mario.
Damn it,
64.
YouTube. I was like, this video is probably that was totally me too.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Don't even know how that happened. I literally just opened YouTube.com and it just played one of my videos.
Thunderstash is like spilling his heart about
Yeah,
his
right.
childhood.
This video.
And you're all, I'm just gonna watch myself.
I was trying to set something up, but anyways, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So played it, rented it. I lived at the time. I was living with my cousin, and we got a 64. He did, so we did because we were roommates basically. Got the 64. Got Mario and Pilot Wings, and we got it the day it came out at Best Buy. If for anyone who was around then or who bought a 64 at launch, you guys know how hard it was to get an N64. I mean, look, off the top of my head, I'm going to tell you, Best Buy's phone number is 494-2500, extension 47. That's how much I called Best Buy to see if they came in stock yet and to please hold it for me. Like, no joke. That was us back in the day. And because they said, my cousin's parents said, my aunt and uncle, if you guys can find it in stock somewhere, we'll take you to go get it. It's like, holy shit, are you serious? So, of course, that was our job at that age, to find it in stock somewhere. But yeah, when we played it, man, so many all-nighters. The N64 is just special. We should talk about that one day. How special the N64 is. The wrestling games, God.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Next week's topic roulette topic.
Yep.
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy! Nice story.
Thank you.
It's always good to go back to the past.
Yeah.
As you see, we're pretty divided between Galaxy and Mario 64. Let's see where the chat polls at as we ended here. Looks like 154 votes. We got 53% leaning towards Mario 64. So there you go.
It is close.
That is what you guys think. Obviously, if you're watching the show after the fact, feel free to leave comments down below. Let us know what you think is the better of the two games.
What does the audience know?
Yeah, what is yeah.
I do have to point this out though. When you click close poll, it said 53%, but then when it posts it in the chat, it says 52%.
Oh,
It always
there's-
rounds down.
Hey.
It always rounds down.
But the
It always
exact same
rounds
number
down.
of
It's a
votes.
YouTube glitch.
It's a round down. It's a round down.
With the exact same number of votes. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that means we could probably just hop to our next topic. Thunderstash. What are we talking about again? What'd you choose?
All right. So we're talking about Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door. 30 frames per second. The internet is in an absolute uproar. As soon as that information came out, I feel like everyone kind of lost their shit. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, oh my God, like people are very, very passionate. And that's a whole nother debate, right? About 30 frames and 60 frames. We've all seen it. People get really upset about that kind of stuff. And some people won't even play games that are 30 frames. I heard the debate with Tears of the Kingdom, how upset people were that was 30 frames. Now, look, I played Thousand Year Door the day it came out. I still have my original copy on GameCube. It's a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece. I love the game. I don't care how it comes to me, whether it be 30 or 60, because it's going to be locked in at 30. It's not going to dip below 30. So at least it's a constant 30. But look, I don't care which way it comes to me. I am thankful that we are getting the 1,000 Year Door on Switch. I would have never have guessed that we'd get that game. I feel the same way about the fact that we got Super Mario RPG last year. That is a game that I rented the day it came out at Blockbuster and absolutely love Mario RPG. And I could not believe that Nintendo and Square teamed up to bring it to the Nintendo Switch. Like, that was a dream come true. And then to follow it up the next year with 1,000 Year Door, I love it. Absolutely love it. So to me, it doesn't really matter in Super Mario or in Paper Mario, the 1,000 Year Door, because this is, I know you have the action commands and you got to press the button at a certain time. And yeah, would it work maybe better at 60 frames per second? Probably, but it's Nintendo. They'll figure it out. I'm sure it's going to work fine at 30 frames.
The other Paper Mario games are at 30 frames, and they have the exact same kind of mechanics.
Yeah, I saw you say that on Twitter earlier today. I was like, yeah.
They also have a Battle Master that helps you kind of adjust to the mechanics as well. Like, so
it's just not a big deal to me. I'm just thankful. Like, I'm thankful we're getting it. That's it. And go ahead.
No, I'm just, you're good. There is something you said that just kind of peeved me a little. Nothing you said, Steve. Just
triggered. You triggered?
Yeah, just a little. Because the fact that this conversation is happening now annoys me just a bit, because we've known the game's been 30 FPS since they showed the first trailer.
Technically, it wasn't confirmed because it was only footage and not hands-on.
Yeah,
I know all the trailers and all the footage was 1080p, 30 FPS. I know.
It's just, listen, you're right. We didn't know for 100%.
But now we know because the preview
it was pretty darn likely that it was going to stay at 30.
I would say yes.
Yeah. Sometimes Nintendo games do see a visual improvement before launch, but this is a remake.
We've also seen Nintendo put around 1080p, 60 FPS trailers, and then the games only ever hit 720p and 30 FPS. So
yeah, but you can check the actual trailer and go frame by frame.
You can actually figure it out.
You can count the frames. It's not hard.
But a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. But then if you couldn't notice, then does it really matter? But that's a whole other thing, right? So here's another little interesting thing. Like, I see a lot of people complain about this, but do most people realize that most movies and TV shows are at 30 or even 24 frames per second?
Please don't make this argument. Please. Please do not make this argument.
It's already been made.
Wait,
no.
I don't think
you're not interacting with shows and movies.
Yeah,
There's no
interaction involved.
I 100% understand, right? Because it's about reaction time. I understand that, and because of the interaction, it's a little different. However, there are some people that literally say that they get queasy just by watching gameplay, which is the equivalent to watching a movie, and so that's just ridiculous to me, right? But yes, from a gameplay perspective, that brings in the conversation on action commands, which I then respond by saying, okay, well, what about the other Paper Mario games that are at 30 and no one complains about those? Well, actually, people do complain about those.
Yeah,
but not because of the frame rate or because of the action commands, but because of everything else.
I will say that just to kind of play the other side of the coin just for a moment, because by the way, I don't give a shit. I think 30 FPS is totally fine. But the other games never had the expectation of 60 FPS versus this one that was originally 60 FPS. And this is considered the most beloved game in the entire franchise. And a lot of the people coming back to play this particular version, this particular one,
remake,
aren't playing the other Paper Marios because they think the other Paper Marios suck. So
Yeah.
that's why they're upset, because they don't care about the other ones did, because they don't like the other ones.
I think that's fair,
I-
right? Like from the perspective of, hey, the original was 60, this is 30, what the flip? But this is also not the same game. It's a visual remake, right? And there are quality of life updates. Nintendo has said there's more. We don't know what that more is. Might just be more quality of life updates. There could be something else. We don't know the full package yet. So that's another thing. Like until we know the full package, we probably shouldn't fully judge the game. But
It's
I think-
60
I
FPS
think
on Switch
so.
too.
Yeah, I think the whole
Yeah.
the whole thing is silly, and I understand there's an argument to be made for 60 frames when it comes to action games or first person shooters, games like Souls, where like every frame counts. But this is a turn based RPG where you take turns attacking, and yes, there are action commands, but I challenge most people to say that the action commands in Paper Mario require like sharp instinct and quick
Right.
reflexes. You know what I mean? And like Thunder Stash, I absolutely love Thousand Year Door. It's actually in like probably in my top 20, 25 games of all time. That game's super special to
did
me.
Mario RPG run at 60?
It did. It
Yeah, it
dipped
did.
Yeah.
It did.
sometimes below 60 on Switch. I looked it up
Interesting.
earlier.
Yeah. And
Um,
it runs mostly at 60 with a few dips that you can notice in the very specific situations, but it wasn't like it was dipping down to like 30 FPS.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like
Yeah.
5 to 10 frames tops dipping.
And-
I guess what would have been cool is if they included the original version of the game running at 60. That way you can make both sides happy.
Do we know who the main
I don't think that's
developer of this
unnecessary.
one is?
We don't know yet, to my knowledge. Landon, do we know? Have you
I don't
heard?
think we do, but I would
Yeah.
assume it's still intelligent. But
We do know it's a remake, though.
Yeah.
I do know that.
I
mean,
don't know. I just think it's silly. The game's gorgeous. It's turn based. I don't understand what you need the 60 frames. It's literally one of the prettiest.
I mean,
Switch games
there's
out
other
there, in my
controversy
opinion.
with this game too. Like
So-
they changed the text.
But Landon, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. Like Prime was saying, like I see people complaining about, like you just said, the text. I see people complaining that Rogue Port looks too shiny. I'm like, I don't understand. They said the music is too good now. There's too much instrument. I'm like,
By the way, you can switch.
You can
to the old
change the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a feature in this game. If you don't like the new music, you ain't gonna listen to it. That part I think is a little BS. You don't like the new music, they did make that optional.
right.
So-
And I mean, it's the same thing too with the frame rate. I'm completely on the same page with Thunderstash. Where like, it is a blessing that this game is coming out in 2024. Like, as a huge Paper Mario fan, I'm like, for all the Paper Mario fans out there, this is a dream. Like,
We've
How
been
can you-
asking for it every Paper Mario announcement. When's
Yeah.
Thousand Year Door coming? When's that? Like every announcement, and now it's here, and everyone's pissed. It's so stupid.
It
Anyways,
looks
go ahead,
stupid.
go ahead.
yeah, and it makes us look stupid, and like you said, and it's just like, it's a very slow paced turn-based RPG where you're not moving more than like 2 miles an hour, exploring things slowly. And then battle systems, the only thing you got is like a super guard, which does have some strict timing. I think it's like 3 frames, but I mean, even that, most people are not going to notice it. Most people are not going to. The fact that people are saying I'm not buying, I've seen people say I'm not buying this game until there's a patch or until Switch 2 where maybe it's 60 frames. I'm like, we don't deserve Nintendo sometimes, man.
Right.
People are just
And even if you miss the timing, you're not gonna die.
yeah.
Like you're not gonna die in
Yeah.
the game, right? Like
I know.
if you die in the game, you got to work on your gaming skills. But this it's not a hard game.
Get good.
It's just not a hard game. We know.
Stop
it's not,
touching
right?
grass. Get
It,
good.
it makes me think of that Iwata quote that was like semi-controversial when he said gamers are insatiable. You guys remember that?
He was
And
predicting the
people got really
future.
upset. But this is exactly that. You guys want Paper Mario? Here you go. It's more gorgeous than it's ever been. Redoing the music, new features, new systems.
I want
Some
Paper
people would
Mario,
prefer-
just
would
not
prefer-
that Paper Mario.
I know.
It's interesting, right? Because you look at something like Skyward Sword HD, right? That game does not have any sort of visual overhaul beyond an upscale, right? But it's at 60 frames per second. So, and that people were complaining about that. They were like, "Oh, there's not enough new here," right? Like they were just quality of life updates, 60 FPS upscale. Thousand Year Door is a visual rebuild. It's made to look like a modern Paper Mario. we don't know about new content, but there's a bevy of quality of life updates that are pretty nice, that are more so than Skyward Sword, but it's not at 60. So it's kind of like, you know, what do you pick your poison, right? Like, do you want 60? Well, I mean, then you look at something like Prime Remastered, which didn't sell as well as it probably should have, was cheaper, was a visual rebuild essentially, even though it's technically a remaster, and it is at 60. But that's a whole other. That's just a technical marvel. That's the anomaly.
But see, I also look at it though. Like, if Metroid Prime Remaster can be 60, then why can't this game? Like, I want to actually know like what the reasoning
Retro
is.
Studios are wizards. That's why.
Well,
So-
that's fine, but like this is
Yeah.
also Nintendo. Like, Nintendo lends some resources to
But there's
whoever was
different,
working on
but
this.
it's a different visual style, right? So, like, who is the developer that chimed in on this that got picked
Yeah,
up?
Beat
an
Tanari.
indie?
I have it up right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I read
Bayonetta.
that too.
Yeah, do you want to share
The-
that, Andres? I'll put it on screen.
That'd be good
Sure.
to see.
Sure.
This was interesting to read, actually.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cool
I didn't read
because
this, so that's why I'm
we think
Yeah.
of visually impressive, and we just think like maybe more ultra realistic graphics or something that looks more realistic. But they were explaining like this, you know, that the art style that you go for sometimes, the amount of shaders and everything you have to program in to get it
Here,
to
I'll
look
screen
that
share
way
now.
is so complex. And I wonder if that's what happened here. It's just like on the Switch, it's just not going to run at a solid 60. So do we delay the game and optimize everything for months and months, or do we put it out at 30? And that's probably what they ended up doing.
Yeah. Are you sharing it yet
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Do
up.
you want me to read it off or?
Can you zoom in a little bit? Just make it a little
Sure.
larger.
Yeah.
There we go.
Is
That's good.
that better? All right.
Yep.
So Abib Tanari, right? They are a game designer at Platinum Games. They worked on Bayonetta Origins and Star Fox Guard, among others, right? And so this is what they said. I can emphasize with the devs of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on Switch with the whole 30 FPS versus 60 FPS situation. We tried for a long time to get Cereza and the Lost Demon running at a stable 60 FPS. For those who don't know, that's Bayonetta Origins, which is a published Nintendo title. We were able to maintain 60 FPS inside the Tirana Nog stages, but it just wasn't possible to keep the same visual fidelity and hold 60 FPS in the forest. My choice is either to have an unlocked frame rate with frequent dips to 30 to 50 FPS or cap it and hold a stable 30. The most difficult part of the game of game development is making choices about what to prioritize. Everything has a cost, both in terms of dev time to implement it and in terms of processing time when the game is running. Ultimately, you simply cannot have everything. This is Cereza and the Lost Demon. May not look visually complex, but there's actually a ton of post-processing going under the hood. The colors fading in like ink as you move throughout the world, the shading patterns on objects, the way the world curves to allow you to see further into the distance. All these visual effects have a processing cost. I felt the picture book look was integral to the overall experience, so it was not worth throwing it away to hit 60 FPS. I imagine the team making Paper Mario faced a similar dilemma. It would be one thing if this were an enhanced port of the original game, like Pikmin 1 and 2, but this is a full rebuild of the game. I'm sure they want to use modern techniques to really make the paper aesthetic shine, and these have a cost. All I can say for certain is the team made the choice they felt would lead to the best overall experience for players. I promise you, it was not a decision made lightly or out of laziness. I missed it on the original, so I'm looking forward to playing it on Switch.
And big shout out to Cereza and the Lost Demon. Super underrated, but actually a pretty rad game.
It's
Just want
pretty
to say.
cool.
Yeah, I think it's a cool comparison too, because Cereza and Lost Demon, as he said, they were going for like that kind of color book look, right? And Paper Mario's going for the paper look. And if you pay attention to the comparisons from the original to the new one, this is a fully rebuilt game. Like everything's made out of paper now. Like before, not everything was made out of paper. It's a completely different like art style now. And there's a lot of really cool effects going into it, some of which may be more subtle than we realized. It could be very costly. So, you know, it's sometimes like we could look at Metroid Prime Remastered and we could say, man, that game just looks amazing and it's 60 FPS. Why couldn't they also do that for Thousand Year Door, which does look pretty darn good? But we don't know. We it's hard for us to quantify as just the fan like looking at footage saying, oh, like this game is more costly than the other, because there's a lot of underlying things and we don't know what cost versus another. You know, like perhaps like having like paper
maybe
like
Metroid Prime
water is like
Remaster isn't
really
as
stressing.
impressive. Sorry, I don't want to. I'm just like maybe Metroid Prime Remastered isn't as impressive development.
You're just trying to throw some shade.
It's almost like it is a real remaster, not a remake, because it's not. It didn't take.
But I've never. I'm always. It's a remaster because it's based off how it was made. It was.
I know.
I know.
We're not having that debate today.
Yeah,
That's
we're not having
a different show. Yeah, that debate.
Yeah, but. Prime Remaster is also
I've got to get away from it. I know. I pushed your buttons. Here, you said something. I'm like, oh, wait a second.
Don't make me start quoting developers.
Oh no,
I can get away from it. So for me, part of that Twitter post going through that, they made the comment of, trying to hold 60, but sometimes it dropped to 50, 30. In games where, frames matter. Once you would, to me, I would think I'd rather have a locked 30 than all of a sudden, you drop your frame at an inconvenient time and you miss your frames that you need to hit. That's to me, I'm more of a give me a steady frame rate versus choppy any day. But for this type of game, once you figure it would be better to actually have the steady frame rate, then all of a sudden you're going to jump on a Goomba and you drop 8 frames and all of a sudden you missed it.
I agree. And I think N64, Josh, you made a good point. And I think this is something we have to look at too. My guess is that they were probably pretty close to being able to do this, to pull off 60. But they probably couldn't. They probably ran into some of the same issues. And I really appreciate the look inside of development that that Twitter user brought up. I thought that was great. I read that. I was like, this is cool to see an inside look. So definitely appreciate something like that. But with the Switch too, I mean, that's a great selling point that you mentioned. It's going to run at 60 FPS on Switch too.
60. Try 120, baby.
For $10.
Well,
the upgrade path is there.
With the info that came out today, it might run even better than 60. But I just think we see games like that, and it makes me think that Switch 2 it'll run at 60. That's just a great selling point, and we're probably going to see a lot of titles, hopefully. If we look at those rumors that happened in the past about, what was it, Breath of the Wild running at 60 frames per second behind closed doors, that's a launch game, and apparently they had it running at 60 frames. So you got to wonder how many games we're going to get that are going to be upgraded like that on Switch 2, which would obviously be a huge selling point that we've discussed previously on this podcast. So I look at it as that. I look at it in that way as well, that they might have said, we're really close, but do we want to have these dips, or do we want to just lock it at 30 and say, hey, for everyone who wants to play it at 60, buy Switch 2?
Yeah. I mean, the argument, obviously, like that whole Twitter thread that was read through, I just kept thinking the whole time, these developers want Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're making these choices with these games that don't feel like they need to make these choices with, and it's because they are still being limited by technology that came out in 2015.
Yeah.
Something I want to point out, because you were asking about the developer. We don't know who the developer is, but
we don't know. We think it might be the same people who've been doing the Paper Mario stuff. We don't.
There's a good chance it could be outsourced.
Could be.
I mean, it's like a lot of games right now. Like, do we have a game that's come out this year that hasn't been outsourced?
No. Not. I mean, if you mean like by a Nintendo-owned studio, no.
Correct. Right. Like even and Princess Peach Showtime, which is a Nintendo. I'm talking about all the Nintendo published titles.
Yeah.
None of them have been made by an internal Nintendo studio, a studio that's owned by Nintendo. Nintendo partners, right? They're still Nintendo games, but they're not made by a core Nintendo team, right? And so I bring that up because in the case of Thousand Year Door, you were kind of talking about, Prime Remastered, like that's an impressive game, but it's also made by Retro Studios, which is technically a Nintendo studio, right? Like they may not have had as much resources as Retro to be able to pull off as much of a technical marvel.
Or as much time. How long were they sitting on Prime 1 Remastered? We were talking about it for years before it came out, right?
True.
Yep.
And also, what else has been Retro Studios doing all this time? I imagine just polishing that engine.
Well, I mean, technically working on Metroid Prime 4.
I mean, even before that, like the tropical freeze to now.
Technically, I'm sure there's a canceled project in there somewhere. That
there's got to be.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
My perspective has simply been that there must be at least like some level of engine optimization that they've been doing, which is one of the reasons why Nintendo may have given them things over to Prime 4, and I think Prime Remastered is proof of that, or evidence. It's not nothing's proof until confirmed, but you know.
Anyone else want to chime on this? Is there like someone putting their flag in the mud?
I think Nintendo was just tired of not being in the conversation with Microsoft and Sony and all their games running at 30 FPS.
It
So.
wasn't a big deal. Like this Starfield used to be like, hey, it now finally runs kind of at 60 FPS on Xbox Series X.
So I see in the chat that Spin is saying
Kind of.
Intelligent Systems is making 1,000 Year Door remake. Is that confirmed? Did we just do a Google search?
That's what I got
That-
off of my Google search too. But again,
That
it's just Google.
It also might have been confirmed by someone who did a preview, and we just didn't read it.
Yeah.
No.
But they also might not know.
Well, I'm saying they might know because there could have been some credits on the demo and stuff like that. We obviously don't know 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know 100%. I'm not saying it's not out there. I wouldn't be surprised if it's intelligence. I mean, it would make sense that they'd be the ones that did it. But
I don't think. Well, according to Spin, it's on the Nintendo Store page. Let me double check that.
is it cool?
Maybe.
That'd be great if it actually is, because they do usually put it there eventually.
I mean, for the sake of the future of the franchise, I really hope it's intelligent.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you hope they get inspired by this and it sells. Like it'd be great if this became. Oh man, wouldn't it be so bad if this just became the best-selling Paper Mario game of all time? Man, what a sad day that would be.
Mm-hmm.
Except that would be an amazing sign for the future of the franchise. If you
Right.
really like it. Like if you, for all your complaints, guys, if you want this to be the future of Paper Mario, you better show up and buy this game.
That's exactly my thought. Everyone who's
So-
complaining, I really hope they go buy the game because otherwise we won't get nice things like this anymore.
I'm still kind of debating. I'm screen sharing,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, sure.
I'm on the website.
I'd
Yep.
agree with you, Andres. I'm looking at that too, and it's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it says game developed by Intelligent Systems, but
they're just copyrights.
right, wouldn't that just be like the original game in 2004?
Yeah, because the copyright says 2004.
That is
there.
2004.
Yeah.
That's a good
They-
point.
So that's
Yeah.
like the original accreditation.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
because they made the original 1,000 Year Door, they make Paper Mario. So
Yeah.
I don't know if this is confirmation that this remake is also been done by them.
It could be, but
I,
don't
mean,
think
again,
it's
it could.
definitive proof.
I just don't think it's confirmation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and there's nothing else here. Google says Google will tell you the developers that, but it's confusing because the original was also
Yeah,
made
yeah, yeah.
by
yeah.
that, and Google
And the
can't
accreditation on
differentiate.
the thing is obviously to the original development. So
Yeah.
again, I don't know if anything's official, or if the preview people knew, or if we're just all guessing. Because a lot of times, what we've learned with Nintendo's games is even when they're listed on the shop, we still typically don't know. Like we didn't even know Goodfield was the developer until like Princess Peach came out. So most people kind of figured they were probably the developers, but it wasn't officially listed on the eShop when you could pre-order it. So I think it's one of those that it will be interesting if it was outsourced to somebody else. It would also kind of suck a little bit because like you want, but I'll say this: I think the sales figures are the things that are going to really speak volumes about the future of Paper Mario. Like if this massively outdoes, God, what was the last one? Origami King. Yeah, if it massively outdoes that game, I mean,
I really hope so. I loved
Sure.
Origami King, but I would like to see a return to form. I know I let go of that by the time Origami King came around.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
now that we're getting a remake of everyone's favorite turn-based Paper Mario game, or not everyone's favorite, but most people's favorite, I hope that people show up and buy this one and it sends a signal. Nintendo's going to do it, pave its own way, but I don't know. Origami King's great. The combat gets really monotonous after a while. I do like the boss fight, like the game board. That was pretty cool to me, discovering like the puzzles for the bosses, but the regular fights, I just found myself trying to avoid them.
Look, guys, this game sells 10 million. This is the kind of game you're going to keep getting. I'm just letting you know right
Oh
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we
I
know
mean,
how RPG sold? Super Mario RPG?
really well.
Thank
It's
God.
sold well. We
Really
obviously
well.
don't know the most up-to-date stuff. We'll find that out May 7th.
Yeah, my birthday.
I think
I think it was
I
over
think they
3
said
million.
it was Yeah, I think they said it
Was it
exceeded
over 3 mil?
expect-
3.47?
expectations.
3.14.
Excellent.
Since its launch.
So 3.14. We
I
haven't
don't know
had
As
when
of
the
December
update.
31st, right?
Yeah, we haven't had. Well, it
let
should
me
be
look
as
into
of
it.
February's update, right? Yeah, which was
Yeah.
through December. Yeah.
In February.
Yep.
So
Good.
3.14.
So Nintendo hasn't updated since then, but 3 million for that game, incredible.
Very good.
This is a remake of a Super Nintendo game. That's amazing.
So like, if this game does 5, 6, 7, 8, I mean,
Even if it does 3, that's still
like,
good.
here's the thing. I think it has a chance to do well because this isn't like a dead franchise. Paper Mario's been consistently. There's a current Paper Mario fan base that has been playing these games this whole time. Like we said, we got Origami King on Switch, so it's bringing back a game that a lot of people today maybe never played. I keep saying that. It was 2001 when this game came out.
I'm on the Wikipedia for Intelligent Systems, the
A whole
actual
lifetime
company,
ago.
and it does show Paper Mario for 2024,
There you
along
go.
with
That's
all
also-
the other
that's
games.
also
They did
Wikipedia.
100% do.
Is there a citation to Wikipedia?
Yeah,
Uh,
because
Because I can go update it right now and say it was made by
Yeah.
Nintendo Prime in his basement.
right. It's not a source.
And
Yeah.
you should.
There's a
Nick.
reason that
Yeah.
colleges won't let you use it, even though it's a good place
here's
to find
here's
it.
the other thing though, right? If it is outsourced, it's not really the end of the world because like I would assume that Intelligent Systems would still oversee the project to an extent anyways,
Yeah.
right? It wouldn't be like they wouldn't have any hand in it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think they would just
I
hand it
agree.
off and there wouldn't be any level of supervision.
Sure.
So
Well, Thunderstash is checking that out. to
Oh,
see
it was
if
last edited April 23rd.
it was edited. Okay.
That's it.
Well,
it was edited, but there's no citation for. Okay, yeah. So, I think there's a lot of assumptions it's intelligent system, which I'm totally cool if it is. I think that's the best guess. That's the best guess, anyways, that we can have.
Yeah.
But we talked a lot in that topic about Metroid stuff. I think that's a good time to get to Mr. Ruby Funko Pop's topic over there.
Why
What
is
would you-
my name Ruby Funko Pop?
That was a super chat. There was a.
Oh.
You could thank Boo Mini. for
Oh,
that.
okay, I get it. Because Ruby, my cat, she should become a Funko Pop.
Yes. I
Or
think
like,
that's
well,
the-
no, she should stay a cat, but there should be Funko Pops
Yes.
based off of her.
100%.
Absolutely.
I agree. Thanks for the business idea.
I hope Andres Restart gets to like 1 million subscriber channel and can team up with Funko Pop for that.
Hell yeah.
That would be awesome. she went inside my dryer today, and she was like looking at me from inside the dryer. It was funny. I'll share a picture on social media later.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so topic is Metroid Prime 4 a launch window game, and why haven't we seen it yet? Because it's a launch window game.
I don't have any imagery to show, guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the game.
Wait, you didn't
Yeah.
get the logo?
No,
Could've
no,
put the old logo. I'm trying not to be
all right.
relevant anymore.
Let me actually open this. I was reading it off the thing.
Yeah. There's
yeah.
no notes for this one because we
Yeah.
don't know anything.
So let me ask, did you make this based off the Hopium Maximum video I made like a week ago? all related?
Look, I needed more topics for the week because I didn't want to just have, hey, it's a topic roulette, but every topic is default chosen. So I needed a fifth. And I was just like, well, you know what? I know one person loves to talk Metroid.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was selected with me in mind. All right. So anyway, there is kind of, right now a lot of Nintendo fans are a bit nervous or anxious because there's not really any big Nintendo games that have been officially announced on the horizon. The only other game we know about is Metroid Prime 4. It's been developed for a very long time. We've seen some really high-profile hires. When we consider the pedigree of Retro Studios and just the critical acclaim of the series and just how good Prime Remastered was, there's a lot of reason to think that Prime 4 is going to be a pretty good game. So we are anticipating this, but Nintendo's yet to have shown anything. It's been 7 years, and we're approaching the end of the Switch. We're getting close to the Switch 2. And so it does raise the question, is this kind of similar to Twilight Princess or Breath of the Wild, where there's this hotly anticipated game, we were getting close to the end of the generation, they were working on it for years, or are they going to take advantage of the situation and do a cross-gen, be it launch day or launch window, or not? Some people think Prime 4 is coming out this year. There are some rumors suggesting so. I'm kind of skeptical because those rumors came out from before the Switch 2 delay even happened. So, I'll speak on that and then I'll open the floor. Something that I don't think people have kind of considered is that if Prime 4 was rumored to be the holiday game for this year, but those rumors came before the Switch 2 delay, and the Switch 2 was supposed to also come out for the holiday of 2024. What does that suggest, assuming both rumors were true, that they were going to come out around the same time? And I think most people at that point would assume that, yeah, it's likely a cross-gen title, right? So Switch 2 is delayed to early next year. Does Nintendo pull the cross-gen Prime 4 release? Of course, this is all, it's all assumptions off of rumors that may or may not be true. But I've been leaning that Prime 4 is a cross-gen launch window title for Switch 2. So I don't think Prime 4 is coming out this year, but I could be wrong. I'm kind of 60-40 on it, right? So it's not like I'm greatly leaning in that direction. So I'll open the floor to you guys. What do you think? Where do you think Metroid Prime 4 stands?
Cross-gen. Cross-gen launch. No doubt. 100%.
You think like day one?
Oh, you're on that train.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Makes the most sense. Nintendo, I don't see why they wouldn't do it that way. They've done it before many times. Where they did it with Twilight Princess, of course, with the GameCube and the Wii.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Breath of the Wild. To my knowledge, that worked out really well. Like, really well. Why wouldn't they do it? And they need to capitalize. They need to capitalize and try and sell as much Metroid as possible. So it can bring the Metroid sales, I wouldn't say up to par, but kind of up to par with the other big two, Mario and Zelda. So it can be a legit big three as far as sales. To me, it's a big three as far as quality of games. Metroid's right there with Mario and Zelda. I think they're excellent games. I love them. Been playing them since literally the 80s. So I think it's very important that they sell as much Metroid as possible. And the best way to do that is with a huge cross-platform marketing push. Makes sense. Great way to sell the Switch too. Appeases all the Switch fans. No one gets pissed off and goes on the internet and complains about it.
Someone will.
Yeah, they will either way.
This is the internet.
Yeah.
Twitter exists, right?
That's what it's for.
On that note, let me ask you guys this question, right? So under this hypothetical that it is a cross-gen title, right? Let's say they release the visually enhanced, better performing Prime 4 on Switch 2 at $70, but the Switch version is $60. Will people be pissed?
No.
They're going to be pissed either way. But
Always.
Well,
yeah,
they'll be
there's
mad.
no
They'll be
doubt
mad
about
that look. We all know $70 games are coming, so that's gonna get yelled at anyways.
Will
but
you guys be pissed?
No.
No.
I would happily pay the $10 for a better performing Metroid Prime 4. But I do want to chime in on this because I have some thoughts on this, because I think everybody's all up in arms about why haven't we seen anything Metroid Prime 4 yet? But it's pretty clear that the only reason we know about it is because Nintendo thought it was going to be ready like probably a year after they showed that initial trailer.
And I thought it was going to be out.
Yeah, they don't do the Zelda thing for Metroid.
Like 2019
right?
at the latest.
Honestly, even with Zelda, I think they didn't think it was going to take as long as it did.
Yeah,
exactly.
I bet you they thought this game was coming out in 2019.
That's fully my thing. And so all the fans are like, why would Nintendo show us a game that's coming out and then it's been 5 years since development restarted?
Because shit happens.
It's just we weren't supposed to know about it. Yeah, exactly. Like that them saying that the development got restarted might as well say, hey, don't think about this game anymore, guys. We just don't even think about it. But as Metroid fans, obviously we care about it. And I'm like you, Andres. I think I'm 60-40 on if it's cross-gen or not, because if they don't bring it out holiday season and there is no other major first-party original Nintendo Switch game this holiday season, I mean, they better have Wind Waker and Twilight Princess combo pack or something to, move some systems a little bit. But there's
Endless Ocean Luminous 3.
It's not, look at the reviews outside of the niche fan base that game has. It's not going to move anything. So I'm curious of if Metroid Prime 4 has been this game that they're like, well, listen, if hardware moves, we might patch the game or update it or do a next gen version of it to make it look a little bit better. But I'd also, I don't know if you guys remember this, because it was a tweet that I read, and I don't know that I even talked about it in a video, but Nate the Hate at one point for sure said he's only aware of a Metroid Prime 4 version for Switch. and not Switch 2.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't mean it's not there, but there is that reality that this might just be a super late gen launch or late generation game for the current Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo's kind of going to position it as their holiday 2024 title. I don't think that's out of the realm of
That's
possibility.
what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. I agree with you, Sunbro. I think Metroid makes a lot of sense this year. Metroid's kind of in an unfortunate situation because since it's not a big system seller, like it would only hurt Metroid to not come out on a console that has 140 million units out there. It's not a big seller. So to have that as like the big Switch 2 launch game, I do think it will come to Switch 2. Not sure it's going to be a launch day. I could see maybe like within that first 12 months, the upgraded version of it comes out. But that's not a game that's going to send everyone to the stores to get Switch 2. It will Metroid Prime fans for sure. The unfortunate part is a game like Metroid, you want to see the most rad visual fidelity. You want to see this game at the peak of what Nintendo can make it. So it's a prime candidate for a Switch 2 sorry. Give me a pass. Let me finish.
Cameron, I am
technically
confused. I am not sure what point.
Double entendre?
It's a double pun because we're also on Nintendo Prime's channel. So
here we go.
Prime third.
yeah.
Prime
Totally
time.
named after Metroid Prime. You guys believe that? All right.
So do you think it's a lot? Or okay, what do you think? What do you think is happening with this game? I'm just a little confused.
So I think it's a Switch game. I think there's a high possibility of it coming out at the end of this year. Not guaranteed, but I do think it's a high possibility. And I think it's coming to Switch 2. It's a cross-gen title, but I'm not convinced it's going to be a day one Switch 2 title. I think it's going to be first 12 months Switch 2. There's going to be the Switch 2 version.
Yeah.
Me and the bird are on the same wavelengths, man.
Yeah, and I'm not on that wavelength.
Sorry.
So I get the idea of like a lot of Switch games getting visually enhanced versions on Switch 2, but like if you don't have like a dedicated version day one, it's not the same.
I agree with that. I don't think they're going to necessarily re-release it on Switch 2. I think if it comes out on Switch 1 this holiday, there's no guarantee that we get any visual enhancement for it. It might just be a higher frame rate, higher resolution update, but to your existing game you already bought, and it's just done via backwards compatibility.
Float this out here.
But what about real quick? What about like it's rumored. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my headphones. It's rumored that Switch 2 might have like the DLSS upscaling, so it might maybe not like this big full-on remaster, but using technology and using AI to add that ray tracing, add the 4K, and it looks better than
they would still have to still have to do that though.
Sure. Yes,
it's not an auto upgrade.
But it could just be like literally a small patch.
Right.
I mean, it's Retro Studios. Look at how much work they put into Metroid Prime Remaster. I don't think anyone was expecting that. So I think with a team like that, like I wouldn't hold it past them.
Here's the thing:
really want their game to shine.
If they drop Metroid Prime 4 this year at the end of the year, I know people are like, "Oh, but we want the Switch 2 version." I think we're going to be impressed visually, regardless, and they will have just pulled a PlayStation. They always release their most visually impressive game right before the new system comes out.
That's true.
Yep,
and that could be like almost a power move from Nintendo, being like, "Hey, look what we did here. Now imagine what's coming next."
Yeah,
good point.
True.
Is there no shot we see Prime 2 and 3 before?
Definitely a shot. Definitely.
I think they're combo pack. I think
those could be shadow dropped.
It's combo pack, legitimately done in the same style as Pikmin 1 and 2. Like, here are these games. Like, even though we had Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which was great on Switch, Nintendo was like, hey, before 4 comes out, here's these classic Pikmin games. You can play them to get caught up on the whole series. I think they do that same thing.
Yeah,
counter argument.
Bet you it drops this summer.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my counter. I think we are getting 2 and 3, but I don't think 2 and 3 are the same kind of games as Pikmin 1 and 2. You can't just blitz them. They're longer games. I think there needs to be a little bit more time with these releases before Prime 4. Like Pikmin 1 and 2, you could beat in a weekend.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
But if
I
it
just,
drops summer, you don't think that summer direct
Sure,
is enough time
sure.
to shadow drop until holiday Prime 4? That's what I'm thinking.
I think that's fine, but we'll see.
Not the September direct and then Prime 4
Yeah.
is out like
I'll
that.
also say this: now that we're in May, right? We haven't had a Nintendo Direct yet. I'm not even sure we're gonna get a July game. They're gonna have to announce
Right.
they're gonna have to do like a social media announcement for a July game, because come June it's likely too late for any sort of major release to be announced in a June Direct for July, unless it's something really small. Although a Prime 2 and 3 on the eShop could be that kind of small. So
Yep.
Yeah,
Direct
I mean,
minis incoming.
look, they give you the summer to beat
Better
it.
not be a
I
mini.
think that's fine. I mean, we're not talking obviously compared to Pikmin. Pikmin are pretty short games in general. But I mean, I was just looking up like the average completion time. Like, yeah, okay, Metroid Prime 2 is 20 to 21 hours. But then Prime 3 Corruption is only 13. That's right in line with like a Pikmin game. So the Pikmin game average completion time is between 8 and 10 hours. So I kind of look at it as, yeah, I don't really think they need a ton of time in between. There's going to be multiple months anyways. You know, I don't think it's going to drop like the month before Prime 4 comes out. But I think a July or an August, easy street. Then you drop this game end of October, close to Halloween time, heading right into the holiday season. And if it's like the only big game they have, because there's no Pokemon, as far as we're aware, there's no Pokemon this holiday.
Yeah.
So this could be like Nintendo's entire marketing push, besides like discounted games and systems potentially for this holiday season. Could be this. Huh?
I'm hoping for one thing.
I'm hoping for an N64 Classics. What I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping for, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be sick. I was gonna say it would be nice if Nintendo, because Metroid Prime for the most part is pretty niche, despite how much critical acclaim they get. It would be so nice if Nintendo was like, you know what? This is our big new Metroid Prime game. Let's give it an even better chance. And this holiday, we're doing a bundle. We're doing a Metroid Prime themed OLED. Maybe there's a price drop. Switch 2 has been announced by this time. I don't know. I think putting it in some sort of a cool bundle for the holiday would be sick. And I think it would give the series more exposure. What do you guys think about that?
I could see that. They need to take advantage of the user base, the install base. It's huge.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, we really need to get Metroid to that Mario and Zelda tier, because as far as the game itself, the quality of it, I think it's there already. We just need to make it more popular. More people need to play it.
Look, it's a game of the year contender.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna probably review high enough to literally be a game of the year contender.
it should win Game of the Year. And anything else.
Okay, that's now. I would like to see it. I don't know if enough reviewers will play it. I hope so. I just think, if something else drops.
I think enough reviewers are going to play Prime 4 because
think about it. If it drops next year with GTA 6 coming out, I don't think it's got a chance.
But we're not talking about it coming out next year.
Sure. You're talking this year. You think nothing from the other platforms that have several big games coming out this year will be more played and more reviewed?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm talking from a fanboy perspective when I say it's going to win Game of the Year.
I think it'll be 95 plus, that's just what Metroid Prime does.
There are years where an 88 is maybe going to win Game
Metroid
of the
Dread,
Year,
baby.
right?
Had a chance.
Yeah. So if Prime 4 is a 95 or above, like obviously Metacritic isn't the sole factor.
No,
here.
it's the voting panel, and my thing is it's still niche. I hope enough of the reviewers on the voting panel actually played the damn thing.
Yeah, but I think aren't there games that win Game of the Year that aren't like necessarily like 10, 20 plus million sellers?
It takes 2-1 that
but
1 year.
That was that 1 year when there was nothing.
That's really fair. Big. Yeah, that's fair.
So, what's this year? What are going to be the
Hellblade? Senua's Sacrifice.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth should be
on. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be up
on there.
Yeah,
where do they fall on the Metacritic scale?
Rebirth is a 93 right now.
Yeah,
Rebirth's
probably going to be up for sure.
93 or 94.
It's probably the favorite at the moment.
It sold at least 2 million, right?
Yeah, and then
Those sound like
Yeah.
Metroid like tier numbers.
It's not selling well. Square's not happy with
Square is
sales.
not. Yeah,
Square's
they're not happy.
in
Yeah.
shambles right now.
But they're never happy with
Yeah,
sales of their
yeah.
games.
Square
Well,
just
that's
literally
because
wrote
Square
off
decided-
$140 million. So they're not
Yeah.
in a good spot at the moment.
Yeah.
No.
I'm
That's
a
because
big
Square's
believer.
always like, we're going to work on 10 AAA games at once. Half of them are going to be half baked. The other half will be good. Like that's what Square does.
Yeah,
consistently.
was Square the one behind Forspoken too?
Yes.
Totally bombed.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
The half
It looks like it was at 2 million
AAA game.
in February.
What about Forspoken 3?
Revengeance?
That makes me mad. That I was so excited for Forspoken, and then it was just not a good game. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, guys. You get really hyped with all the trailers, and then it only matters
Yeah.
if the game's actually like.
Oh,
You can have all the pretty visuals you want if the gameplay sucks.
that Infinity Strash Dragon Quest game that came out, I think it was last fall.
Yeah.
That game bombed.
Yeah.
Like review bombed, commercially bombed.
Yeah,
Foam
They-
Stars.
and Foam Stars
They've
is
had some bad stuff coming out lately.
still going on. The fun
Yeah.
thing is that I do think that because I heard some people say, "Oh man, are they going to cancel Dragon Quest 12?" I think 12 is safe. 11 sold really well for them. It's like the best selling Dragon Quest game ever.
It's excellent.
So I think 12 is safe. I think like that franchise, Final Fantasy.
Are they even going to cancel
Those are
projects or
safe.
maybe just stop green lighting projects? That they don't
Well, they
believe
wrote
in?
off 140 million of projects that are already in development. So they're literally
Yeah.
writing off projects right now.
So
they
that's-
just-
okay.
They had a vote for it, and
They said like a
didn't
handful of games shut down development, right? It was like a handful of
I'm
games.
scared for things like another Octopath Traveler type of game or another
But
Triangle
yeah,
Don't
Strategy.
those games sell
I'm
consistently?
not worried about those. I think those are going to sell well. They do really well on Nintendo. I think Square has an issue where they focus on RPGs, and Nintendo is one of the biggest audiences of RPGs and JRPGs. But none of those games come to Switch. When Switch 2 comes around, if they're able to get like Final Fantasy 7
Dude,
on there and
I
Final
thought it was-
Fantasy 16,
I mean, first off, 7 Rebirth shouldn't just it shouldn't be an exclusive.
Sony ponied up. They spent a ton of money.
they did.
Like
Not
here's-
enough
here's my-
apparently, because
here's
look
my
at those
thing.
financials.
Yeah, here's the thing. Square is not happy with the sales, and I totally understand that. But I also go, Square, did you even pay for the game to be made? Because I'm pretty sure Sony wrote you a fat ass check for exclusivity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so.
It's like, yeah, and guess what? And I'm not saying that game can even run on Switch or anything, but what I am
They
saying
can't,
is,
yeah.
look, they got like Visions of Mana coming out. Look, the sales are going to be okay. Just wait till it drops on Switch too, and watch
Yeah,
what the sales do then.
It'll
The
boom.
Nintendo fans are going to eat that shit
Mhm.
up. We love the Mana series. We love Square
it.
games.
Yeah,
Like,
there was a
The
thing.
Final
it-
Fantasy
it-
series, I think, is actually hurt right now because the mainline games are not coming to the platform where I think the majority of people that want to play it actually are.
Yeah, there was it was so weird that like obviously there's those rumors about Sega wanting to, Sega Atlas wanting to bring a lot of content to Switch
Yeah.
too. It's funny, I remember when I think it was Persona 4 Golden first got ported over to the Switch, and Atlas came out and like, oh, we were really shocked to see how well it sold. It's like, really? I've been like, man, this game would do so well. Persona games in general would do so well because the audience is there.
Yeah, I think that's being rethunk. Landon, you've been real quiet on Metroid. It might not be your cup of tea. I don't know.
Metroid
You got any
hater.
thoughts on this Metroid Prime 4 stuff?
I'm
in a
in
state
the
of
Metroid
meditation.
area. I'm in there. I played. I played them all.
Metroid Prime pinball.
Yeah, I'm not. Never
Goated,
mind.
actually.
Hunters
Bro.
is his favorite. Hunters
Bro,
is his favorite. Got it.
Honestly, you got to play pinball. It's so good.
You know what? Wait, we're wrong. It's Federation Force. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I played.
All right, now you're gonna cause a
Federation Force
roid rage.
Yeah.
But, like, it's actually a good game. It just released. They should have waited.
There's no such thing as a
They
bad
should have
Metroid game.
announced Metroid Prime 4 and then dropped Federation Force.
The worst game is maybe Other M, but even that's a good game. If you
I like
want a
Other M.
story.
I,
Yeah.
I love Other M.
I like
So
Other
good.
M as
I
well.
do like other.
Yeah. Actually, maybe
Really underrated.
Federation Force is also fun. It's just,
Yeah.
It was a bad announcement at the time because
Yeah.
everyone knew the Metroid series is up in limbo.
and I also think the art style was wrong. And then
just 3DS. I'm trying to do their best. they can with that idea.
my biggest issue with the game was actually the online. Like it's a
Mhm.
co-op based game, and I always suffered from disconnects because it's 3DS.
Guys, we
Yeah.
hijacked Landon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I was
completely.
trying to get Nintendo
Yeah,
Land. To
I just see
over-
him
get
like
the Metroid
shaking.
fandom going. What are we?
All right. Well, I'm gonna disappoint y'all then because I don't think there's a shot that's coming this year. For one, no shot.
Yeah.
I think
Why is that good, Andres?
Because that means it's cross-gen, right? Right?
no,
Oh,
no.
Curveball.
right?
So
Curveball.
okay, let me try to explain this.
No one's on your side now.
I am.
Oh, come
we
on,
haven't had
Josh.
chime in. You don't know. They might be teaming up to end this topic with a big kabang.
Roid rage.
So if
Obviously,
it's
we've got some
there's no
silence
way
out
it's coming this year because for one, if it's on the Switch, people are going to complain like Paper Mario is going to be 30 frames per second. But also, I just don't for it being a huge because it is going to be a huge Nintendo game. Nintendo has to show something if it's coming this year. There's no way we're in May and there's not been a single like anything. There's no way we're going into June and then it's not like a 2D Metroid where they're like, oh, this is Dread. It's coming out in a couple months. Like they want to, if they're going to want this game to sell well, they're going to want to hype it up. They're going to want to show off trailers, a year in advance, I would think, and just get the thing hyped up. Why I don't think it's a day one, maybe launch window. I don't think it's a day one because, it's 3D Mario time. That's the launch title.
So
Absolutely.
actually, we're
I
not.
agree with that.
we're
Listen, you're
really-
not going
we're
to go
not
away from the 3D Mario launch title.
We're not
It's
in
just
disagreement,
obvious.
Landon. We're not in disagreement because the initial question was launch window.
Okay.
Launch day is falls within launch window, but
Yeah,
there's other
Nintendo's
days. in
launch window's
window.
like a year. It's crazy.
I think
thinking
it's gonna
like
be year
first 3
one.
to 6 months. In terms of launch window. But
Yeah, I definitely think it's year one. I'd even say probably like if I had to put a time frame, the summer of next year.
Okay. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
Let
I think
Mario and maybe
I
like
think
one other
first
game
12
really
months.
bring the audience in, and then boom. Metroid
Yeah.
Prime 4.
and Mario Kart for holiday 2025.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
the move. Yeah.
absolutely.
They got to do Mario Kart Year One.
Also, whatever
I agree.
whatever Monosoft has cooking, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
gonna fit in there. And I bet you the Ocarina of Time remake will be
Arms
announced
too,
next-
baby.
Oh my goodness.
Arms
It'll be
2.
announced, not released. Let's talk about
Everybody's
two
one
And
days.
we're gonna
for
get the new
Switch.
Fire Emblem, and then we're gonna get the new Smash Brothers. And,
Well, I
We're
mean,
just getting everything. Year One.
I mean-
it's all
I
coming
mean,
Year One.
Year one, baby.
I mean,
Between
honestly,
four,
by
why not?
2026,
Throw it
that's
out
not. I don't think that's unreasonable.
New Animal Crossing. Everything just Year
I
One.
don't either.
A new Smash in the second year of a new generation is par
No
for
Well,
the
that-
course.
inventory.
I don't
the
think
first
Sma-
2 years.
yeah. I know there's a lot of stuff out there. Sakurai's probably already working on it. Anyways, okay. I like what Landon had to say there. I like it. He's going away from cross-gen entirely. It's
Oh
just
wait,
going
you're
to be
saying it'll be a
Switch 2
Switch 2
only.
exclusive. Oh yeah,
I'm
we
saying
do disagree.
exclusive.
All right, we do disagree there.
Yeah.
And by extension, does that mean Josh also feels it's Prime Force a Switch 2 exclusive?
Switch one doesn't have ray tracing, so
There you go.
Oh, he's just saying I want only one version to exist, and it's the best of the best.
I love
Yeah.
how like I'm in the middle and everyone's like either is like both making me happy and pissing me off at the same time.
the reason I don't think I think I talked about it on the last show, but I think there's a very real possibility the next Mario Kart is what Breath of the Wild was on the Switch 2 because of how well it's sold. They're either going to look at it as it's going to move the new Switch, those units, or they're going to focus on the software, making them a ton of money. And because if the other part of this argument is that we never got a Mario Kart on Switch. We never did. So
Fact.
if the Wii U game is one of the, it's an incredible looking game, but except for Coconut Mall, sorry guys, I know there's a lot of Wii fans in here right now. I'm sorry they did Coconut Mall dirty, but they could
fixed it a little bit.
a little, but and I'm looking at chat and they're like, they know we're gonna buy it exactly, but they could sell a lot at the beginning of the Switch 2's life cycle and have it crossplay.
Yep.
The I'm assuming some ultra performance or whatever on the Switch 2. I don't know. I don't know if Breath of the Wild. I don't know what it did. I don't have the numbers in front of me what it did on Wii U, but like it was still like that's a big game. Mario Kart's a big game. Like a 3D Mario, a big game. Metroid.
It's big in my heart.
It's not.
Like I know it is, and I'm a huge like Metroid Prime is like that was when that came out on GameCube. Like I lost myself in that game until I got through it. Like it was unlike anything else. But I think it would behoove them to continue building hype for this game. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom got announced at E3 2019, and then do something like that this year. You know, show the logo again, show a nice fancy trailer, tease it, and drop 2, and then keep showing us more about it. Drop 3, and then eventually, and also, I don't care if they need to take 9 years to make this game. If it's something that absolutely blows us away, I would rather it be. I've talked about this on my podcast before. It's like, you know how Helldivers like took over the internet. Metroid, like that's a brand that could, or an IP that could do that if they don't treat it like the last games. Like they've got to think outside the box with this thing. There has to be, it has to be a 2024, 2025, 2026 style game, not a 2006 style game, right? Like they've really got to step it up with some things that like people don't want to miss this game, similar to what Helldivers did, and other game. We can think Elden
Something
Ring,
special.
right? Like have it be something special that could move some switches.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Nintendo experimented a lot with innovation within like their IPs. Obviously, Zelda's like the big obvious one where they're like, hey, let's kind of throw the conventions and the tropes of the series out the window and try something different. But we also saw a little bit of that with Fire Emblem, with like more of the social system. Kind of felt a little bit like a Persona game. They've experimented and tweaked what some of their IP mean, and they've done it to really great success. And I imagine we're going to see even more of that with Switch 2. Bye. With Switch 2.
You got to change your battery.
I'm
back.
still here. I'm still here.
I think we'll see more of that with Switch 2, and I fully expect to see Prime kind of evolve past what we all know Prime to be. In what ways, I'm not sure. Maybe it's going to have, it still has that Metroidvania style interconnected level design, but with big open worlds, with larger than life boss fights, and a cool counter system like we see in Dread, but in the first person, kind of like Doom. I don't know. They have to reinvent it. Maybe there's a multiplayer mechanic. Not really something that I'm looking for personally, but that's definitely something that would help Metroid enter more of the mainstream. And slightly off the Metroid topic, I also have a feeling that within the first 2 years of Switch 2, we're actually going to see some of those dormant IPs like Star Fox and F-Zero, games like that, maybe Kid Icarus, kind of pop back into the scene with that philosophy of kind of like, hey, let's kind of reinvent these games. But anyways, the point is, I agree. They need to do something surprising. They need to do something different. They need to do something that takes people who already not fans go, holy shit, what is this? I got to check this one out.
Well, and I'll take it a step further, and I don't know that they would do this, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Is there a possibility that we see, we get to make our own bounty hunter, and that
For
there's a
multiplayer?
possibility that it's like maybe like Destiny in a way, where we could do strikes together. We could even do like raids together, and then maybe some multiplayer aspects as well. Like, but do it right? Because I mean, I know Destiny has really it's not been great throughout the years. It's been up and down.
Nintendo online phone app confirmed for
there we go.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
There's so many different directions they could take it, for sure. The only thing I feel confident in is that it's going to be good. And I think like once we see the game, people are going to realize, oh, how good, Like I think it's one of those things where because it hasn't really been shown, people who aren't believers aren't going to become believers until they see it, But Josh, I think you kind of sold me a little bit on this idea of Mario Kart being the launch title. Like All right, I know we got to move on to the next topic, so I'll just play out this little like potential like way things could go. Imagine Mario Kart comes out March 2025 to launch the system, which I'd be so happy with actually. But Prime 4 is hot on its heels. Comes out May. And then they got Xenoblade 4, Legends ZA comes out. You know, they have a Switch 2 patch or what have you. To fit in a new IP there. And then they close out with the biggest, most ambitious Mario game for the holiday next year. That might be a better way to start things, because if you have Mario Kart and Metroid as like those first two big titles, you got like your single player hardcore thing, and then you have your multiplayer casual thing. But then you're still hyping people up with 3D Mario, which is going to be like, you know, maybe the most ambitious Nintendo game even beyond Prime 4. And so that's going to be pretty cool. So yeah, I however it goes, Mario Kart, 3D Mario, Prime 4, take your pick. Any of those are going to be masterpieces. So.
We're going to be eating well. We know that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them will lose to GTA 6.
No,
Unfortunately.
It'll be on the Switch
Well, I mean, sales wise, yes, of course.
Sales wise.
via cloud.
I even think review wise. I think reviewing. Look, we don't know till it comes out, but every reviewer is playing GTA 6. Every single one.
Here's the other cool thing: GTA 6 might be on Switch too. Who cares?
That would be sick.
That would be awesome.
Via cloud.
Yeah.
We keep hoping.
God.
I don't know. Based
All right.
based off the rumors
Who
today,
invited
those
this
specs
guy
look
to
pretty
the
good.
show?
Yeah, the
Who
specs are
invited this
looking
guy?
good.
Yeah.
Sorry
You know,
for-
he's gonna say Switch 2 is just a streaming stick
right.
for our TVs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Well, speaking of Switch 2, we have the last topic from Topic Roulette. The Switch 2 rumors, and there's like a lot that has happened from like a few different places. I'm gonna go over the one that was first part we're gonna go over of the rumors is the part that Pioro sort of backed, saying that stuff he's at least heard about, but doesn't, you know, his primary source at Nintendo won't confirm or deny. It's just something he knows has been going on behind the scenes. And he said, he pointed out how it seems to be that it went from like manufacturing is where it seems to be the original source of all the stuff coming from. And this is something that was put up by MobaPad. I'm going to show this here quick. The thing about the MobaPad stuff is they now have this like up on their channel, up on their, this is actually like a blog post they have up. They originally put it as a Facebook post. I have one of their controllers. They like are a real Switch accessory manufacturer. The funny thing is they might have actually stole all this information from Billy Bill. So it's kind of weird, but they have the other one's not in English. So we'll just use theirs for now. There might even be some mistakes in it that I'll mention as we get to it. But as you go down, you know, it says exclusive, what to expect. You're like, oh, this is just them guessing. No, this is them saying they know. We, like everyone else, are eagerly anticipating accurate information for Switch 2. In the process of developing our next generation controller, MobaPad has acquired a lot of firsthand. They're claiming this is firsthand information, which, by the way, it cannot be firsthand information because if they got it from a manufacturer, Nintendo's firsthand. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there. So they're claiming they were just told. So it says the Switch 2 will continue to support existing Joy-Cons and the Pro Controller, and it'll still be equipped with the Alps dual-axis linear motors for HD Rumble. Then it says the cartridge slot of Switch 2 will support backwards compatibility. The cartridge slot, that's physical backwards compatibility, everyone. But all rumors, of course. And their original post also said digital backwards compatibility, but that's not in this one. So ensuring players with existing game libraries. Oh, there it goes. Actually, they did put it in here. It wasn't in this post originally. Including digital versions. However, the second generation cartridges may not be compatible with the first generation console. They originally said they would not be. Now they're saying they may not be. But I'll get into why there's some weird language in this in a little bit. The new version of the Joy-Con has a larger volume, so it's a bigger controller. And the sliding rail structure has been changed to magnetic suction. The SL, L, and SR buttons are metal buttons. Magnetic suction is achieved through electromagnetic suction technology controlled by electric current. It's worth noting that in addition to the L, ZL, R, and ZR buttons on the sides of the Joy-Con controller, a third button has been added on both the left and right sides. I don't I don't know if they're just talking about the ones below the home button, because it says there's one below the home button as well.
It's another it's an extra pair of buttons next to the shoulder buttons,
Underneath.
and then also a
third shoulder button.
operational
I don't know.
Could be bumpers on the sides, but
Yeah, who
Paddles.
knows? Maybe the mouse wheel. The mouse wheel's back, baby.
could be.
Scroll wheel.
Sounds like the Nitro deck.
Well, the
Yeah.
My Nintendo News article showed where it was. It's supposedly like on the underside of the Joy-Con towards the
Yeah,
the on the back of it, kind of like a
Maybe
paddle.
paddles.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
could be like
It's kinda like
paddles
that,
or yeah. Also could just be a button mechanism to just disconnect the controller.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Like they didn't really
Yeah.
describe what the button does. Additionally, below the home button on the right Joy-Con, there's an additional function button with no idea what it is, or whether it's customizable or if it's just a new feature. I would venture to guess it's probably not customizable. It probably has a function in the OS that we just don't know what it is. Could be a quick menu that pops up where you can turn on like FSR on or off, like you can on Steam Deck, or something else. Who the heck knows?
Me versus back.
Yeah, and this is the bottom of the Switch 2 will still feature a USB-C port for docking, which isn't a surprise. The new generation dock will undergo minor changes in appearance, so it's going to look different. No surprise there, because it probably needs to look different just to differentiate itself. While enhancing performance, supporting 4K resolution, which is funny when they say enhancing performance. The dock, guys, is not going to have extra tech in it. Like, can we just stop pretending? They're just talking about the fact that the HDMI outputs a 4K signal. That's what I think, anyways.
Well, I mean, I think they're just trying to explain what the Switch already does. I mean, performance improves because it clocks higher.
Sure, yeah. It'll be higher clocked in it. The new dock will feature a damping bracket on the back, allowing for a greater range of adjustable angles. So they're talking about the kickstand. The screen will be upgraded to an 8-inch display, which is something we've already heard, although they are saying 1080p. Second time we've heard it might be a 1080p screen. This is just some of the hardware information we've got. Not the full extent. From the hardware perspective, Switch 2 inherits the dual mode feature of the predecessor. And this isn't actually new information here. They're just kind of recapping some stuff. A lot of the weird language in here, by the way, is because I do think that they just kind of jacked this information and wanted clout. But what are you going to do about that? That's like one of the many rumors that are going on. There's also some from like Business Korea. I won't show it on screen, but I'll just point out there's a My Nintendo News article that I can drop a link to if you guys want. That just kind of summarizes it up as an example. The most interesting part about it is that the Switch 2, they say, could launch the earliest in the second half of this year. That really got a lot of people talking because their information seems to be coming directly from manufacturing as well. Suppliers have reportedly reached a considerable degree of agreement for initial production contracts. So the production contracts are done, so they're going to begin production here at some point. The Samsung Foundry will fabricate the SoC. This is one that's got people talking as well. The SoC, the system on a chip, the actual thing that runs everything, might be a 7 LPH process node. Fun fact about the 7 LPH process node with Samsung, it doesn't actually exist in any of their public documentation. It's only ever been a rumored processing node. So this would be like the first commercial product that would actually be using this.
It's exciting.
So there's that. Granted, 7 nanometers is not what people wanted. People wanted 4.
Maybe it also has antimatter propulsion.
This is a custom processing node that's never been in a product, so we don't really know what the efficiencies of that processing node are. Samsung will provide the NAND storage for both the cartridge and internal memory. They also talked about it being a V5 NAND flash stuff that we've had rumored.
Oh, that's exciting to me.
That is exciting. It's faster.
Right, but they also mentioned internal storage, which
This
kind of
will be
assumed,
internal. Yeah,
but it would have been weird to only have it.
Well, some people wanted it to
cartridge
be an NVMe, and I'm just like, it's more expensive. They're going to go with probably something solder to the board. Samsung overcame other supply competitors for the display. So apparently Samsung's providing the display. Again, this is all rumored. This information has been corroborated, by the way, by some other people. Aura XDA, who is a leaker for Samsung products specifically, is also corroborating this.
You may not have seen this, but the original post that put that out for Business Korea, they actually took down the leaker part because they later decided that they weren't very credible.
Sure.
The Aura XDA person. Right?
Yeah, the Aura.
I saw something about that on.
The Aura XDA
Reddit
person.
thing.
The reason I never, by the way, that's the first time I mentioned Aura XDA. I didn't bring it up in any of my videos because in the digging I did, I realized that they kind of throw a lot of stuff out there.
That's probably why they
Yeah.
took it down.
So, but this is just something that this person's supposedly corroborated, but they're not a reliable corroboration.
Well, the thing is, business Korea is supposedly reliable on their own.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah, and Korea is, by the way, for those who don't know, where the Samsung factories are located. So that's why people are really paying attention to this, because they realistically could be directly connected to the manufacturers.
Yeah.
So Switch 2 is expected to launch. Okay, yeah, that's all done. The chip is still the Tegra 2T, the T239. Thing has been rumored since the NVIDIA leak. And this is the thing that has some people talking as well. The display is apparently going to be an OLED. It's the first time we've heard the OLED term tossed around. But then they also note that there could be LCD models at launch and OLED would actually be later. It sounds like to me there might be a contract for OLED screens, but those aren't like launch models. That could be a future.
Yeah, but I mean, how
Thing.
future proof?
Or there could be multiple systems at launch and one's an OLED screen. I don't know.
That makes more sense to me.
Could be that.
I wouldn't be opposed to them doing a 400, 450 LCD and OLED, you know, right there.
Yeah, OLED would clearly just take the cake.
It would.
For whatever reason, I don't see Nintendo doing 2 SKUs at launch. I don't know why.
They did it with the Wii U.
They did. They did.
And that went really well. Yeah, that went so well.
It worked out, but they've done it.
Yeah.
It's a really old rumor too, right? The 2 SKUs, like a digital only.
Yeah, there's been one of those. Special Nick was one of the people who said he originally heard something about that behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I hope they don't. I mean, honestly, for simplicity, they shouldn't. And it's a Nintendo thing to not do 2 SKUs. But I mean, that's what most other console Sony and Microsoft each do 2 SKUs every time.
It's the norm now, right?
Yeah.
So Nintendo does adopt to norms.
I think crowds are more, because everyone else is doing it. We have all these SKUs of phones now. Like, I think fans are more.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why they would do it. Because
it works so great for Xbox.
If the general masses kind of understand how multiple SKUs work, maybe Nintendo will be like, okay, well, people will get it, so we'll do it.
I think also when they did it with the Wii U, I'm presuming Nintendo is going to have a massive amount of games to advertise and push the system. And that's something they didn't have with Wii U. I mean, they were pushing it with Nintendo Land and Pikmin and Mario Deluxe U. Don't get me wrong, I like all those games. I actually think Nintendo Land's extremely underrated. I wish I would have got ported to the Switch. That game is amazing. But my thing is that there's going to be games that people actually want to play advertising the system that I think a multiple SKU thing could work. And it's going to be sold out at launch anyways.
Yeah.
So
will it include Drift?
Well, actually, what's interesting,
say it right on the box. Actually,
well, that's actually that's the name of the next console, the Nintendo.
Call the Switch Drift.
So, joking aside,
And
though, right?
Mario Kart confirmed at launch. Then
there we go. I mean, that's the only way I think there will be Drift if Mario Kart's a launch title, because apparently the new Joy-Cons are bigger. And so if they're bigger, to me, that makes you feel pretty good about it, because, they'll be able to fit in more. It'll be a bit more spacious, less cramped. Maybe
give me a
less cheap out on the
sensing
control
stick.
sticks.
Yeah.
It's just cheaping out. There's a company in Ghoulie Kit that makes Hall sticks that fit in your Joy-Cons today. You don't need a bigger one. They just need to do it. It's just more expensive. That's all. That's it. It's just a cost thing.
Something else I think we should... Did you mention the Vandal rumor?
I did not mention that one. You can bring that one up, and I have an additional one that dropped yesterday as well.
That's cool. So with the Vandal one, that was kind of like the first report that broke out last
that was the
week,
first one last
right?
week. Yep.
And it didn't mention as much as the MoaPad leak.
Yeah,
thing.
that one kind of overtook it quick.
But the MoaPad leak thing kind of corroborates the Vandal one, because it also talked about the magnetic Joy-Cons. And
they were the first ones.
Yeah, and this is where we heard about. So apparently, the manufacturers were only allowed to touch the Switch 2 and not see it, so they had to put their hands inside of a box. But from what they heard, the console is bigger than this. Not heard, from what they felt. The console is bigger than the Switch, but smaller than the Steam Deck. So that's interesting, and I'm very curious how the magnetic thing is going to work. But what's most curious to me is that we're just seeing multiple places sort of say similar things.
And then Pioro is saying that he's been aware of this for a while. It's been talked about behind the scenes a lot.
And so a few people in the chat noted that Pioro didn't say this is all 100%.
He literally said his primary source didn't confirm, also didn't deny it.
Right. This is so basically what this means is Piero's just saying some of the things in here are probably true.
He's saying he's heard of it. That
Right.
that this isn't a mystery to him. This isn't new information to him. Is what he's saying.
So I'm curious because I feel like most of the stuff in this, you know, rumor leak, whatever you want to call it, a lot of it's kind of par for the course from what we've heard multiple
Nothing
times.
super crazy.
The thing that I'm curious about, and I wanted to ask your guys' opinion, is what do you think about the magnetic Joy-Cons thing? Because for me, that's the one piece of this that's a little bit hard to wrap my head around. I'm not a huge like tech head, so like the tech of it sounds very bizarre to me, but it also sounds very expensive to me, and it sounds bizarre. I don't know.
Well,
like I'm trying to wrap my head
Two
around
things.
it.
One, there are going to be legal court cases about people throwing their new Joy-Cons at the fridge and it getting stuck. But two, I feel like this is probably just a nifty little innovation Nintendo discovered that would work really well, probably relatively affordable. Otherwise, I don't think they would include it. I think there's a reason why they would go in this direction over what they have for the current Switch setup. I don't think they would just do it just to be different. I hope. So, you know, I imagine they just found something that's just really cool and works well.
I
Well,
also
you just gave me an idea. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just wanting to note they actually had patents for magnetic Joy-Cons for the Switch.
Mm.
Nintendo's actually already explored this idea
I didn't
for
know
the
that.
original
That's fun.
Switch, and they obviously ended up not going with it. I think they even said something about an interview very early in the Switch's life cycle about the connection and talked about how they experimented with magnets and it just didn't work out. To me, like the magnet thing would just be, it's not replacing the rail. There will still be some sort of rail. This is like in addition to, because like one of the things that Nintendo showed with like the Switch OLED is they're willing to do quality of life stuff. And one thing that people have complained with the Joy-Cons over time is wobble. They wobble in there. And some people are getting connection issues due to the wobble. Sometimes the Joy-Cons don't always stay connected. So one way to fix that is, well, okay, the rails, they're inevitably going to loosen up over time, right? We're dealing with plastic and metal, it bends. Sure. But how can we make that connection stronger? Let's have a couple magnets involved. Now, magnets themselves aren't that expensive, by the way. There's plenty of electronics that use them for connections and different things. I mean, MagSafe with Apple, I know they charge an arm and a leg, but it doesn't actually cost them that much.
Don't magnets wear down over time?
That's the electromagnet part of it.
Yeah, I was going to chime in on the electromagnetic part because I couldn't wrap my head around it until I was reading that from the MobaPad post. And then I went into the Reddit thread that was talking about it, and people were explaining, like, they called them mag switches, but essentially when there's like that electromagnetic pulse, that it's kind of like an on-off switch for the magnet. And the way they're describing it is like when it's on, it's like going to be so strong that you're not going to be able to physically separate it. And when it's off, you're going to be able to pop it off like a regular magnet. That makes a lot more sense to me. And maybe you could argue we don't even need a super rail system at that point at all. You know, it might literally be like an attach. And attach. There's a
PC. There's a handheld PC with detachable Joy-Cons that does use electric magnets, so it's not like a new thing. It does exist.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, it's neat. For some reason I was under the impression these reports were saying that there wasn't rails, but maybe I just misheard or
they're saying they attach via magnets, but there or a magnetic system, but they're not really saying there isn't a rail. But
I just don't think we have clarification on if it is or isn't.
It could be if there's not a rail, it could be an indent at least.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Like it fits in there, and then once the electromagnetic part is locked in,
disabled or you enable
and one of the buttons, maybe that function button is
that could literally be what
release.
It is. Function button could be a release.
If there's no rails, kids are going to be stuck to their Switch, screaming like, "Get my hands off my Switch!" Like, no way.
Wishful thinking, but maybe that third operational button, not the shoulder button, but the third button under the function button. Maybe that's having to do with social connection features, like pulling up your friends list and seeing who's online to.
Now we're pipe dreaming.
It's probably a window that pops up that says to open your Nintendo app on your Android or iOS.
It's a dedicated NSO button.
But you can at least see your online friends, but to talk to them, you got to go through the phone. Now,
that would even still be a leap forward for that.
I do hope it's a social feature. I thought about that too. I mean, in a perfect world, Nintendo would just adopt Discord, but I don't think they'll do that. but they might have. Well, or maybe they will, because maybe that's the way that they get around any responsibility of their whatever
Absolutely.
the excuse is that Nintendo's afraid to do online voice chat.
Heavy Discord integration would be awesome.
We know they like Discord.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah, they like to go after things
okay.
on Discord.
that took me like
Yeah, that's good.
0.75 seconds to get.
They're already
That
in
was-
some
that
of
was
those
good.
groups, so
Yeah, we know they're
Yeah.
active on there, so they
Yeah,
bring it on in. They're already monitoring.
it's cool.
It's Miiverse
Good one.
version 2.
Yeah,
What do you
that's-
guys think about the new buttons in the back though? Like, what kind of application would those have? Is it just like extra buttons for?
It could be
extra
magnetic
stuff?
disconnect button.
Bro.
I was
but-
thinking that could
yeah,
be
that's
that.
a good point. It could just be that. Yeah.
I'm
think
actually
it's
worried
that or
about the
paddles.
replacement. Go ahead, sorry. What'd you say, Game Bird Classic?
Oh, I was just saying. I think it's that or paddles.
That or paddles? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Joy-Con are a little bigger. Like my fingers are right here.
Yeah,
So
I'm
if
worried
they're a
about the
little bit
placement.
bigger.
Well, I'm worried about, like, I don't want it to be one of those things where I'm accidentally hitting it all the time. If it's actually something that's an assigned button for certain games, those can get kind of iffy for me.
I'm looking at the placement, and it looks like a Wii Mote B button the way it's sitting back there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
really
But I don't know if
does.
it's gonna be like a thing
What-
for motion
well,
controls.
What if
or-
it's a scroll wheel button? That'd be cool.
So you guys, obviously it's the Nitro deck, but you see these buttons back
Yep.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just have these as mappable buttons.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends on if this button's going to be big innovation, like typical Nintendo style
First ever
innovations. or
mappable
if
button
it's that.
included with your control with the console.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Hear me out. So the idea of the scroll wheel button, right? Like, so it's.
Which, by the
something
way,
you can-
people who say it's crazy, Sakurai said he's been telling Nintendo about this idea for like
Yeah.
decades.
And it's basically a shoulder button. You can press it to like a normal shoulder button, but it can scroll, so you can
Mhm.
kind of go through. It's like, imagine like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you kind of trying to scroll through items with your stick. You do it with the wheel instead. But imagine Prime 4 being a cross-gen title. You can use each new scroll button to scroll through your visors on one side and your beams through the other.
Or a zoom.
Dude,
That'd
there's
be
so
cool.
many uses for scroll
Oh,
wheels.
zooming.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
scope
zooming
zoom.
would be good.
Dude, there's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many uses for like when Sakurai when that original
rotation.
rumor came up about that crazy airplane story and the security thing, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe, probably made up. Who knows? Oh, this person gave their actual airport information. Turns out they really are. Okay, cool. Well, it's whatever. And then Sakurai comes on and says, oh yeah, by the way, here's a completely separate video on this exact same idea that I've been telling Nintendo for 20 years. And it's like, oh, so somebody who actually could maybe get something done has literally been trying to get this exact thing into a system. Okay, then you got to take it a bit more serious that Nintendo would have had to seriously consider it at some point and might still consider it, especially if Sakurai's like, hey, this is one of those things I want for the next Smash game. And then they asked Nintendo's developers, and they're like, yeah, dude, we got lots of uses if we had that scroll wheel.
I think it would also. What's kind of interesting about it is like you look at the mouse, you got a little scrolling button, right?
Yeah, very useful.
It would add just another little thing that console controllers could have that help to kind of mitigate the gap between PC and keyboard. Like,
Bet
mouse
you
and
get
keyboard.
used more than that touchpad on the PlayStation.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it would.
Good point, Andres.
Yeah,
It's it's a more natural fitting mechanism for gaming, I feel like, on a controller. I know people love like the touchpads on Steam Deck, and that's great. And I know some people would like to have touchpads on the thing, but the whole screen's a touch screen. I don't really know that we necessarily need the touchpad. I think the actual wheels would just be way more useful for quick navigation of certain things. I mean, imagine even just thinking of current games like Tears of the Kingdom. We have that whole weapon selection thing. Well, now you just scroll a little wheel for it instead of having to hold a
I was
button and go to
thinking
a
that
sub
too.
menu.
Mario Maker 3.
Mario, it'd be great for Mario Maker. It'd be great for
That would be really
Splatoon.
good.
Good point.
Dude, it'd be
Well,
great.
what if you can use
I
it
can't
just
think of
to,
a
like,
game it'd be
move left
bad
and right?
for.
like what if you could just use it like turn left and right? Because like so I like using the gyro controls in a lot of shooters,
Sure.
especially Splatoon, right? I think it's really good for vertically looking up and down, but it's still kind of awkward to look left and right quickly with gyro controls. But a scroll wheel might be a bit more intuitive. So
Yeah. I also want to throw out there that there was another rumor that came yesterday from Moore's Law is Dead. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a fellow content creator, well-known insider with a lot of different tech companies. His whole channel is based around it because he knows employees. Like when I say he knows, he's had several leaks in the past for NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, all these companies Literally, he'll say this, and he's got a source on it, and then it gets announced months later, and it's literally exactly what he said. And really, what he got a lot of attention for lately was his PlayStation 5 Pro stuff. He was the one who put out all of the specs for PlayStation 5 Pro. And the funny thing about that was he did that, and then all the major outlets corroborated exactly what he said. So, like, it's kind of crazy. And he put out specs, by the way, a while back for Switch 2 that a lot of people just sort of like dismissed, former NVIDIA employee, yada, yada. Well, he went out yesterday on his podcast and he said, hey, I got, my NVIDIA employees have been talking again. And they're going over all the different handheld tech coming out for like PC and stuff. And they had a Switch 2 section. He's like, all right, here's the thing. My guy at NVIDIA told me that the entire goal of Switch 2 in docked mode is to get as close as possible to 4 teraflops in docked mode. And then in handheld mode would be significantly less, which, to give you guys an idea, Switch, when it launched, handheld mode was only 40% capable of what the Switch in docked mode could do. So I don't know how much a significant, what does that mean? And so he asked him, he's like, well, what about clocks? Like, and he only asked what handheld clocks said, we're talking like under 800 megahertz. And the guy said, yeah, it's going to be under 800 megahertz in handheld mode, which is a little interesting because Switch in docked mode is 768 for the GPU. But here's the thing. We're talking about completely different technologies. So like we can throw out all the tech numbers and all the stuff. Comparing it to anything today is very strange. Like even when people try to compare it to like 2050s and 2060s, it's like, well, okay, but this is a completely custom chip with custom feature sets that doesn't actually exist in the marketplace at the moment for us to really have anything to compare to. But I think what the fascinating part is with that tech and like 4 teraflops, one that falls kind of in what we sort of heard, like PlayStation 4 Pro, maybe Xbox Series S territory, because that's also like 4 teraflops. But again, they're using AMD versus NVIDIA, which also has tensor cores that can be used for DLSS hardware cores specific for that. So I find it really fascinating. And I think what this does is it just sort of brings into picture what Nintendo's vision is for this platform. Like, yeah, it's still older technology, but because I want to be very clear here, the difference between this when people always keep comparing to PCs are so much more powerful. I understand that. There's no big AAA developer that's specifically, when they make a PC game, looking at any of those individual handheld PCs and going, yeah, we're going to optimize directly for that particular one or that particular one or that particular one. They do a blanket thing that has to fit a bunch of different specs and technologies in the PC space, whereas Switch is going to be a hard set platform. It's this chip. It runs at this speeds in handheld, this speeds in docked. That's what it is. This is what you have to work with. Games are going to be so much more optimized for it. So even when you're thinking, well, yeah, modern games are only barely hitting whatever on these handheld PCs, that's fine. They're not optimized for those at all. And they're all using, by the way, AMD technology. Tell me one of them that's using NVIDIA. They're not. NVIDIA would love those contracts. They don't have. There's actually one using Intel Arc right now. We have an Intel Arc handheld PC before we had an NVIDIA one. So there is a lot to say here where I think Nintendo kind of knows what they're doing. They went with NVIDIA, who is the leader in GPUs, who knows what they're doing. They're seemingly spearheading the majority of development on the chip. I'm actually kind of excited. I also think we've reached a point where visuals aren't like the thing that sell games anymore. How many pretty games have we seen, but then they don't sell well? I don't think visuals are as big of a deal anymore as people make them out to be. I think we all want the best looking stuff, but people are now starting to realize the gameplay, the story, all that stuff actually matters a lot more.
Say that to Stellar Blade.
Yeah, about time.
Yeah. So I honestly, you combine this with all like there's going to be some tech upgrades and some improvements and better, hopefully better ergonomics. I'm excited, man. I know it's all rumors and it could all be bullshit, but man, some of this has to be real, and I'm excited.
I mean, like, the Switch 2 is obviously going to be more powerful than the Switch, right?
Yeah.
And something that I think is worth pointing out is that the Switch is, from a graphics perspective, is a marginal jump over the Wii U. The crazier part is that it made it handheld. The Switch 2 is going to be like an actual next generation leap over the Switch. So we're going to see a significant leap in like visual fidelity and performance for Nintendo games, and that's gonna be exciting to see. You know how 3D Mario is going to look, how Mario Kart's going to look, maybe a next gen version of Prime 4, or maybe eventually like, you know, Ocarina of Time remake or whatever the next Xenoblade is going to look like. Like these games are going to look insane. And from a marketing perspective, that's going to help the system out a lot. Like that's going to excite a lot of people.
All right. I know Landon has to dip out here in a moment, and the show's going to be over in a little bit anyways, but Landon, you got any thoughts on all this crazy Switch 2 stuff before you head out?
I'm ready to throw my Joy-Con at the Switch and see if it sticks. Just
yes.
Magnetically.
They released an update. It's now on all Joy-Cons.
I mean, just what Andres was saying. I mean, it's already Mario, so I'm like, you don't need Mario to look hyper realistic. So any better now would just already be insane, because like I will die on the hill that Luigi's Mansion 3 looks fantastic. I mean, it's one of the best games
I just think of like physics and gameplay ability, what they're going to be able to do. That's
what I mean, it's just going to get even crazier. So I mean, I'm here for the games. Just, you know, it's going to be, you know, the next Mario game is going to be stellar. We already know that. So
not Stellar Blade.
Not Stellar Blade, unless Mario has a collab and
crossover with Stellar Blade. That ass and the Mario flat ass from the movie. Got it.
There you go. Yeah,
perfect combo.
I'm just excited.
All right, awesome. Who else wants to chime in on all this craziness?
I got some thoughts.
Yeah, sure, I'm sure you do.
Okay, so I like the point that you said, Nate, about like gameplay is always been king, and for Nintendo it always has been, but it really feels like from the PS4 and Xbox One generation to the PS5 and Xbox Series generation is when people noticed that games were already looking good enough and people just want them to actually be released in a reasonable amount of time and have fun gameplay mechanics. And that's where I feel like a lot of this generation has become like the scrutiny of online gamers, like dissecting if the frame rate's too low or something's wrong. Like they're hung up on the visuals and they forget to have fun with the games. But all of that said, I feel like Nintendo having a hybrid console that's powerful enough to get those PS4 Pro level visuals is like the perfect spot of where they need to land. Like even if they're here for another 7 years, that's as much power as we really need to still have an incredible experience with our games. And we're now going to be in the conversation, at least for the next 4 or so years, to get a lot of native third-party support that we wouldn't have got without this power. So if it's anywhere close to that 4 teraflops, even though that's not a great like metric to, like you said, apples to apples comparison doesn't really work. But if we get anywhere near that PS4 Pro level raw horsepower with DLSS and ray tracing and things included, like modern tech, I think Nintendo's set. I really do. And outside of like the massive scope games like a GTA 6 that might have a hard time running on Switch 2, maybe it won't, but I could imagine that one having some hiccups. If we get the majority of big third-party titles, or at least are in the conversation for them, and it's not such a large gap like it is right now, I just think that it's going to land in a great spot. So, you know, I don't put all the stock in the world in the report, but I do think that Moore's Law is dead. To your point, the PS5 Pro specs leak was like super recent. So this seems in the wheelhouse of being realistic. It's not saying anything outlandish or anything that's really even that far off from what we've heard before. So it very well could be right in line with what we should expect. And it'll run all the Call of Duties from Microsoft that way too, because I'm pretty sure they were scratching their heads figuring out how to get that stuff to run on the base model Switch.
Well, the funny thing is, one of the counters I heard was, "Oh, the Steam Deck's not even as powerful as that." And it's like, again, one, the Steam Deck came out a bit ago at this point. Let's just start there. And two, again, it's using AMD technology. We're talking about a completely different tech that kicked the shit out of AMD when it came out for that. The tech it's using, by the way, is the same technology that came out around the same time as the RDNA 2 stuff that's in PlayStation 5. And at that time, NVIDIA kicked the shit out of what AMD was doing in terms of GPU. Obviously, you know, processor, that's a different competitor. But so like, I think people don't really understand what a fully custom NVIDIA ARM system can do, where all the developers that want to make games for are literally just optimizing for that. rather than worrying about all the other stuff, all the other NVIDIA GPUs, all the CPUs, just optimizing just for that. I think you're going to see things that beat some of the performance of those low setting, barely running on some of those handheld PCs that are way more expensive because these games aren't being optimized for those platforms. They can't. The tech just keeps changing too quick. They're dropping these new platforms like every 6 months.
There was a lot of conversation around Starfield when it launched on PC, and how many people were just saying it ran just complete ass, and they were so unhappy with it.
Yeah.
And then it was literally the development. I don't know if it was actually Microsoft's developers. It very well may have not been, but developers were chiming in saying, like, guys, you don't understand releasing a game on a PC and customizing it for each graphics card that's on there, the optimization and the time that takes. Whereas now you can look at it and it runs significantly better, but that took a solid 6 months after release to figure all that stuff out. And to your point, when it's one custom SoC, that's all you're developing it for. That's a big difference. So
compared to Switch, this is going to be a massive leap. Eric, I know you usually don't have a lot to say on this topic. You just want the damn thing.
Yes, that's pretty much where I'm
But
still
are
at.
you happy with what you're hearing with these rumors?
Yeah, I mean, even if half of them are true, that'd be freaking fantastic. I don't know which ones I want for half to be true, but
for me, the power is the most important to me because the power unlocks gameplay abilities for Nintendo.
Mhm.
That I think Nintendo will use that power in ways that other companies aren't because they're so focused just on visuals. Whereas Nintendo will find a way, like the next Zelda game with PS4 Pro power. Dude, look what they did with Tears of the Kingdom. What the hell are they going to do with that level of processing?
Space is next.
Well, I'm just saying, to them compared to what they were working with Switch, it would almost feel like they almost have unlimited possibilities, and that makes me like a Nintendo teams that feel like they aren't limited. That to me makes me just smile,
And
because
and
that's
not only
crazy.
not only games like Zelda, but Animal Crossing could be so much bigger.
Yeah, the 3D Mario, like Odyssey was great, but what if they only did like those partial worlds because that's just tech limitation? Okay, we don't got that now.
Imagine if Animal Crossing was at 60 frames per second.
That's there's the game changer right there.
Wave race. Give me wave race.
Yes, Wave Race.
I'm here
Love it.
for it.
Oh, but Matt, Wave Race 64 had the most incredible like water graphics. Can you imagine what they could do like now?
The look and feel, the physics behind the water too is just amazing.
Oh yeah, no, you're so
they
right.
need to do
When I hit my first wave, I would literally think I'm about to get wet right now.
HD Rumble just feels like you're in the water.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they put a heat and cold sensor in there too, so it slowly chills.
Oh, like Arctic Thunder in the
Mm.
arcade.
Bro,
Who
if they had
played
Arctic
that?
Thunder, when you use the boosters, that's when it turns hot. Oh,
Yeah, you remember it would hit you with the cool air.
Yeah, that'd be so awesome.
No.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yes,
No.
we're getting a 4D Switch, like those 4D theaters. Let's go.
Yes. No, but kind of back to what
You can smell the
Sunbro was
pickles.
talking about, like with the power of the system, it made me think about back on the GameCube days when Resident Evil came out and how that was like. Remember the discussion between Xbox and PS2 and the GameCube and then all of a sudden Resident Evil comes out and it's like, yo, like this is no joke, right? Like I would love to see a similar conversation happen when the next Switch comes out, and it's like
I think it will.
I do too. I mean, we were close to it with like Luigi's Mansion 3, like that game,
Yeah.
you know, like you guys mentioned, it's just incredible, and so
beautiful.
Yeah,
The animations alone in that game are just.
I don't know if gamers on other platforms that always diss Nintendo are ready to see Nintendo games literally no long just visually standing toe to toe with everything they got going on. Meanwhile, getting higher reviews because the gameplay is crazy.
You know, Nintendo's been saying this.
And like
for
bug free, by the
decades.
way. Thank you, Nintendo, for actually giving a shit about bugs in your games.
What were you getting at, Steve?
Pokemon
Nintendo's
aside.
been saying this for decades. I forget if it was Iwata or if it was before that, if it was Reggie. But it was the whole thing about graphics and that it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
And they've said this at almost every generation. It seems like shortly after the specs come out for their new consoles that, you know, there's going to come a time where reach a point where graphics across the board on all platforms aren't going to matter. And what's going to matter is the things that should matter, in my opinion, or they matter to me at least. Gameplay, right? Is
They
it
matter
fun?
to everyone. Look at the most
Yeah,
popular
they
games
should.
in the world. And they're not the
Right.
most graphically pleasing.
Exactly. It's all about the gameplay. Gameplay will always be king, and Nintendo's king at gameplay. We know that. So I think with Nintendo having, let's just say, again, I don't think this is an apples to apples comparison when you look at specs for the Switch 2 and you try and compare it to like PS4 Pro specs, because like you guys all mentioned, we're working with new technology here. But let's just say Nintendo's working with PS4 Pro, possibly better because it's newer tech, and that's the power they're working with. What Nintendo can do with that is going to be insane, because they never have that power. They're wizards when it comes to this stuff. We all know this. We've seen it over the years. So this is going to be special. If these specs are anywhere close or possibly better, this is going to be insane.
Let's just put it this way.
Cows in your door. Will
If you-
finally
if
get
you were
to
one of-
60 FPS.
If you were one of the 13 million Wii U owners, which I was, if you didn't think Switch was a big leap over Wii U, which is fine, there's lots of good-looking games on Wii U, you're going to be shocked at how much of a leap this is going to look like in comparison to Switch. I think it's going to floor you, because it was a massive leap if you came from 3DS. But if you came from Wii U, it didn't quite feel as big of a leap. Just wait. This guys, this is the leap from PS3 to PS4.
It's going to be massive.
And that
All
was
I
a
can-
massive leap. At the
All
time.
I can think about is the way Forza, the way they were showing the reflection, and I'm just like, I just want to see Bowser in the reflection of the pipe frame. I'm sorry.
It's good. It's
Oh,
gonna happen.
yeah.
It's gonna happen.
That's going to be rad.
So are you telling me the Switch 2 is going to be like a Switch and a Wii U duct taped together? 'Cause that would be pretty powerful.
There
No,
you go.
magnetized.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go, there you go.
There it is. That's how it does.
And maybe
All
there'll be
right.
a peripheral where you could like attach it to your back with like a metal like jacket.
That's called Labo.
Oh, there you go.
All right, I'm quickly going to go over to the Q&A questions quick. If you guys didn't know, I didn't say anything during the show because I was trying to make sure we kept the time short. We're only a little bit past. I want these Nintenbyte podcasts to run anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours. We're technically not past. We started a smidge late. My bad. Whatever. Let's just get through these questions quick here. We had a $5 one come in from a Nintendo Switch fan who said, excited for the new podcast. Going to give you my question early. Last week I bought Minecraft for my Switch. Have you guys played it on Switch?
Yes.
I have.
I have not.
It's great.
Yeah. You get Mario. You just don't get to
Minecraft.
see Mario
Mario,
in other people's.
Yeah. Thanks, Nintendo.
I play with
In other
Steven
people's
Cash.
crafts.
I don't like Minecraft. Sorry. I know. It hurts my channel.
I like it. I just choose not to play it because it's addicting.
It is.
There you go.
Yeah. There you
Fair
go.
enough.
There you go. Then we had, let's see, a $5 super chat come in from Ellis335 saying, I might have missed part of the news. Why exactly did Jake Randall leave the podcast again? Well, he was never part of this particular podcast, to be fair. But I know what you mean. Personal reasons. He's just really happy with other aspects of his life.
And
the
to focus on his OnlyFans.
Yeah, and he's focusing on his OnlyFans too. But the king of being bricked up, he's just in a very good place in his life. He has cystic fibrosis. Happiness to him matters a great deal because he's only got a short time on this planet. And he's in a very happy part of his life right now with his personal life and his work life. And the podcast just really wasn't fitting in with where he is in life. I'm not saying he'll never guest on the show. I'm sure he will eventually. But yeah, he made a choice that was best for him, and we have to respect that, even though I will miss him. Next up, we got $5 in from Taker 610. Andres, hopefully Ruby didn't mistake your dryer for one of those fancy new automatic litter boxes. Some of them kind of look like a dryer.
She's good. She knows how to behave.
Okay, so she didn't ruin the dryer.
No, she just likes going inside holes.
Wait a second.
Whoa.
Whoa.
She's
Whoa.
a cat. Cats
Family
like
I
friendly.
see what happened. We were keeping it clean, and then Jake Randall came
Man.
up. And
Oh, man.
All went off the
boxes,
rails.
small spaces. All right.
And then Taker 610K with $2 says, "What if the LCD and OLED model from day one?" And that is something we talked about briefly. It's like that could be a dual model launch, right? Like that would be what it would be. I would assume one with an LCD, not like one that's smaller than the other or less powerful. Not pulling out the Xbox strategy because that so went well for them. Well, one, if you want that more premium feature because you're coming from Switch OLED, it wouldn't feel like a downgrade. I could see them doing that. Like
maybe a little bit less storage too. You know,
Yeah, they can mess
128
with the
instead of
storage.
256.
Yeah, they can mess with the storage as well to kind of make the price work. Like, oh, you want the OLED, but maybe we give you less storage. Maybe you don't care because you have a 1
500 for
terabyte.
OLED.
You have a 1 terabyte expansion card or whatever. You just don't care. So like I could see Nintendo messing around with stuff like that because I could understand one thing that Furukawa might have been considering is that if you are coming from Switch OLED, you might actually notice a screen quality difference dropping back down to LCD. Now, there's actually some pretty good LCDs out there, but that could be something that it's like, hey, that was a selling point. It actually has become our number one selling platform. Maybe we should have an OLED model at launch.
Doesn't Samsung only make OLEDs? Wasn't that a story?
So they sold off all their LCD tech, their low-end LCD tech. They sold it all off. They still make QLEDs with quantum dot technology. They are starting to transition all of that over to their OLEDs now instead. So they're slowly getting away from those as well. But that's like the high-end panels. So people are always like, well, what if it's a a quantum dot QLED? I'm like, that would be pretty sick. It's also more expensive than OLED. So I don't know why they would go with that over OLED. But maybe it's more power efficient or something. That could be a reason. It's only 8-inch screen, so whatever they're doing, it's not really that expensive regardless.
But with Samsung getting that contract, do you think
supposedly,
then maybe we're not getting LCD and we are getting
it could just be straight OLED. Maybe it was at one point LCD, and maybe one thing to remember is all the specs we know about the system until these reports came from dev kits, as far as we're aware. And I could totally believe the dev kits were LCD screens. Look, the kind of screen it is has nothing to do with you making a video game.
Yep.
Whether you're making it on an LCD or an OLED, that's irrelevant. It literally is. That's a quality feature for the end user. Has nothing to do with game development. So I do think that it's possible that yes, it was LCD all these dev kits last year, or maybe even early this year. That doesn't mean the final product is that. And if Samsung said, hey, we're already making all your other stuff, let's offer you a better deal than these other companies do because we just want to make everything because we want all the profits, all the extra margin profits off your platform, not some of it. And they offered Nintendo a great deal because they're already, Samsung, by the way, is the one making the OLED screens.
Yeah.
So that could actually make a lot of sense. And then Nintendo stuck with them. And maybe it's just one model and it's OLED and they got to worry about it. They were able to get that in at $399 or whatever the price is. So
we are the reason that it would be an LCD first and then an OLED because we would all buy both of them.
It would be for resale purposes totally for sure. You either buy both at launch or if they launch LCD first, they're dropping the OLED later. They know they got you to double dip on that 8.2-inch screen.
Right.
Anyways, so I think that's going to wrap it up here for the first episode of the Nintenbyte Podcast. We made it. Oh, my button doesn't work. I had a celebration button and it's like, no. Just shut down. Just dead silence.
Fail.
Damn it.
Yay!
I thought I had everything tested out. Anyways, we'll go around quick, let people know where you can find you, what you got going on, if there's any upcoming content you want to advertise or tease. Let's go ahead and let's start with Landon, who I know is just holding on right now. Landon, what do you got going on?
You can find me Nintendo Land on YouTube, on Twitter. Right now, not really any big projects. I'm still just dreaming about 3D Mario, 7 years coming up. So I'm like, yeah, come on, give me my Mario. But no, that's about it for me.
Super Mario Journey, baby. Let's go.
We're about a journey. It's going to be great.
Nice. Game Boy Classic.
What is up? Super excited about today's episode. Thanks so much for having me. I've got a bunch of content planned on the channel. There's been a drought because I've actually been working on a project and these Switch 2 rumors just kind of like flooded this week and that kind of derailed. It's a skit. I do my Nintendo news, my Nintendo predictions, but I also do comedy kind of cinematic skits on the channel here and there. This one is a skit that I'm doing about Switch 2. Really fun. It's the hardest skit I've ever done from an editing perspective. Wild. It's the weirdest thing. If you thought the last one was weird, this one's even weirder. Just putting that out there. Having fun with that. And then I might be doing something with Andres soon on his channel. Let him
might
talk
be
about
heated.
I wonder what's happening.
Might be a little hot, if you know what I mean.
Hot and
Other
bothered.
than that,
over
yeah, find me at Gamebird Classic, and thanks again so much for having me on.
there. All right, Mr. Sunbro Nation.
Yeah, same old for me. Sunbro Nation on YouTube and on Twitter's the only other platform I'm super active on, and then not even super active on it. 6 videos a week, Nintendo topic themed. If there's news, it's news. If it's rumors, leaks, it's that. And if it's sometimes just straight up speculation, because we are in 2024 in the 7th year of Nintendo Switch.
Welcome to
it's
Nintendo.
it's
like
just
every
that
video.
too.
It's rumors
So,
or speculation. That's pretty much
yeah.
what you get.
Yep. So that's what you get with me. Feel free to check it out. Thanks again, Nate, for having me. I had a blast with you guys tonight.
No problem.
Yeah.
And 64 Josh.
Hey, thanks again for having me too. I appreciate it. I'm N64 Josh everywhere. I'm slowly growing a relatively large Mario Kart community over on TikTok, and we're doing streams almost 7 days a week at 3 p.m. Pacific, at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Enjoy it for 9 months, baby.
And I've told the community, I said, guys, I'll be quick. We actually did something amazing on Sunday. So if they sub on TikTok, they get to join the Kart Club. On Sundays, we do a Kart Club only tournament. And this last one was our retro one, and everybody had to use the pipe frame and the standard wheels. It didn't matter what character or what glider. And I literally had people coming into chat like, is this an N64 mod? Like, why are there all these people in pipe frames? And I'm like, hey, it's the Kart Club. So having a blast over there. I host a Nintendo podcast called the Nintendo Powercast and a Mario Kart podcast called The Dirt.
Nice.
Nice.
Very cool.
Ruby Funko Pop. What's going on, buddy?
That's a weird name, man.
I'll
Yeah.
just restart for those who don't know.
Yeah, what's up? I make Nintendo content pretty much every day, so you can check me out there.
Nice.
Restart, not Ruby Funko Pop.
All right, we got Thunderstash, aka Thunder Steve, 85 Gaming.
Yeah, you guys can check me out at Thunder Steve 85 Gaming on YouTube. Right now, I have a video going up shortly. It's a review of a budget gaming projector on a 150-inch screen. It's pretty fun. I have a review coming out for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Wrath of the Mutants, that I recorded right before this. I got the Star Wars Dark Forces remaster review coming out. Played that on PS5. That game was sick, especially because it's got 4K 120 hertz. If you got the TV to do it, I do, and it was cool. And then I'm gonna probably butcher this name. Udian Chronicles Rising. Udian. You guys know what I'm talking about? 100
Yeah,
Heroes.
the
100 Heroes
Suikoden
one, I think.
kind
Yeah.
of
I don't have
successor.
no idea how to pronounce the
So
name.
I played Rising, beat it. I already have the review done too, so I'll be posting all that content, and I wanted to beat that before playing, of course, 100 Heroes. So if you're a Turtles fan, you should tune in for sure for this Wrath of the Mutants review.
I'll tune in. I'm a huge Turtles
Yeah.
fan, so I'll be there.
Yeah, you want to know about it, I'm sure, if you should spend your money or not on this game.
Hell yeah. Eric
I was there. Now I'm here. So that's it.
was
Last
Nintendo Prime Podcast.
Yes.
Still here for
Yep.
the Nintenbyte Podcast.
Yep. And that's where I am.
If I'm gonna advertise anything, look, obviously this is hosted at the Nintendo Prime YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio on Spotify or whatever, that's where you can find my other content, lots of news and everything. Rumors. People are gonna tell you all I do is what was the one comment today? I don't know why I even watch this guy. It's all rumors and booze. Cool, man. Get
Hell yeah.
strippers and no pants dance as well, and let's have a party. But no, what I want to say is that we actually are going to be putting up all the individual topics from this show at a Nintenbyte Podcast Clips channel, which I will link in the pinned comment on the YouTube video for this after the show, because I just want to make sure I have that fully set up properly. Those clips will literally start going up tomorrow. So the day after the show is live. So there you go. If you are listening on Spotify and everything, just know if you want to catch the show live, it's 8 p.m. Wednesdays on the Nintendo Prime Podcast YouTube channel. Otherwise, you could literally just wait for it to release on Thursdays on Spotify and everywhere else. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go ahead and get out of here.